at DennisPrager.com.
South African troops in the Democratic Republic of Congo have suffered their first fatalities since their recent deployment to put down a rebellion.
The South African military did not link the Wednesday incident to M23. The force described it as indirect fire, but added that details were still sketchy. Meanwhile, the Norwegian Refugee Council said heavy artillery and mortar fire had been hitting densely populated areas in the troubled North Kivu province. Fighting has intensified as the rebels advance in the direction of the provincial capital, Goma. The aid agency has warned that the violence puts the city at risk of lockdown and threatens humanitarian support for millions.
The BBC's Anne Soy. Officials say a missile strike on the Russian city of Belgorod near the Ukraine border has killed 6 people, including a child, while 18 other people were injured in the attack. News and analysis at townhall.com. Cybersecurity experts warn America's hospitals are at risk for attacks like the one that's crippling operations at a premier Midwestern children's hospital.
Experts want the government in Washington to do more to prevent such breaches. Assailants often operate from American adversaries such as Russia, North Korea, and Iran, where they enjoy big payouts from their victims and face little prospect of ever being punished. Federal health officials acknowledge the increase in cyber attacks on hospitals and say they're working to develop new rules to help healthcare facilities protect themselves against cyber threats. But they say more money is needed from Congress to help hospitals protect themselves. Jeremy House, Washington.
New Mexico's Democrat-led House of Representatives has rejected a bill that would have guaranteed paid time off for workers to cope with serious illnesses or care for newborns and loved ones. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The tabloid said, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning, one and all. Welcome to Mornings with Mike Winters. I am he. That would be me, Mike Winters. Happy Thursday, buddy. Post Valentine's Day Thursday.
That's right. How was yours?
Good.
Yeah.
Eventful. We kind of did our dinner thing Tuesday, and Saturday we're gonna go do a little thing. But
Nice.
nothing major. But yeah, so we kind of just a night for us. We just kicked back and had some dinner and watched the tube.
Very nice.
Yeah. How about yourself?
It was good. I had some. I bought a thing of Marie Callender soups, so I've been kind of working my way through that. It's a chicken. It has some chicken. It's chicken pot pie soup.
Oh.
Snuggled up with the one who won't ever leave me, my cat.
There you go.
And watched some wrestling. It was good. It was a good night. Good night, Tater.
Love was.
There's no snare in my headphones. Hang on. I'm hearing out of one right now.
That's right. I got a red question on it because I was trying to get the National Weather Service up this morning and it was being ornery. It's not going there, so I go to the Weather Channel and I sit there now. All these pop-ups are coming up, and I can't even find the weather anymore. I don't know what happened.
Well, it could be like a certain population of, I'm sure, American men that it had a bad night last night. Did you check in the doghouse? Maybe that's where the weather website is. Maybe it's screwed up and got the wrong kind of flowers.
Yeah, maybe. Well, if you did screw up, you're just going to have to make it up here over the next few days.
Oh, yeah.
And,
you got time.
I know if you need a little help, I can help you, but you got to wait till Tuesday of next week. Because if you want to be charitable and get out of the doghouse.
Oh.
The Historical Society, they're having their night over at Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you grab the flyer, which you can get online if you go to the Historical Society's website or their Facebook page and print that bad boy off and then bring it with you to Texas Roadhouse Tuesday evening, they'll donate 10%, I believe, of your meal cost.
Nice.
Back to the Historical Society.
That's awesome.
You could, and spin it that way. It's like, I care about you, and I also want to help the community. That's why I'm going to take you out to a big steak dinner.
Dang right.
Tuesday night.
See
we're
there?
Gonna help out our community doing it, and we're going to treat you like the queen or king you deserve to be. So if you botched it with your spouse, get right on Tuesday.
Be a lover and a philanthropist.
That's right.
Not what Charlie said on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Be a philanthropist. I watched this guy on YouTube Shorts that he'll go to like a restaurant, just random, like, wherever it is, and he'll get the least expensive and the most expensive item on the menu.
Okay.
And so he did this with Texas Roadhouse. And the least expensive was like it was a burger. It was a really good.
So when you say least expensive meal or like anything?
Like entree.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So yeah, like the least expensive was like a good sized burger and a decent amount of fries for like $8. And the most expensive item was a gigantic porterhouse steak with like sides and all of it, plus all that comes with your Texas Roadhouse experience.
Yeah, everything.
Half the time you get the entree, you're like, I'm full already.
I ate all these
Can
nuts.
I get a box?
I ate these nuts and the bread.
But it's $34.99. That's the most expensive thing on the menu. Like that's a great deal. You're getting a fantastic meal.
That's the one thing, since because I think I've been to Texas Roadhouse like maybe once prior to it moving to Roswell.
Right.
And so I was like, but now that I've been there, I don't know, multiple times since it's open. Yeah, that's a place that I feel like every time I'm like, okay, I dropped $50-$60.
Sure.
But I feel like I ate my $50-$60.
You got your money's worth for sure.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I feel like I got what I got.
And it's very much like, it's kind of like when you go to Red Lobster and, okay, I'm sorry, PETA people. When you go to Red Lobster and you get to pick out your lobsters and go with that one. That's exactly what you get to do at Texas Roadhouse. You like look at all the steaks in the window, being all proud, and you're like, I'm going to have you inside me later.
Moo me.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can move it on over to my table.
That's right. In my belly.
And I'll move it to my mouth.
But so it'd be a good way to
there you go. Make up for all your foibles and screw ups.
Yes. So speaking of wrestling, you mentioned you watched your wrestling last night. I started watching the Netflix docu-series called Wrestlers. And it is a series that follows a wrestling company that is probably the biggest independent wrestling company.
What are they called now?
They're still called OVW.
Are they still OVW?
Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Right. But they're based out of Florida.
Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Ohio Valley, which includes Louisville and all that part of Kentucky.
Okay. So it is technically still in the Ohio Valley.
Yeah, it's the Ohio Valley. It's just not in Ohio.
It's kind of like how this station falls under the flag of Pecos Valley Broadcasting, even though we're a few miles away from the Pecos Valley.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of so anyway, they're trying to kind of get to a level like WWE and the two majors.
Well, for those who, if anybody who with their salt who knows wrestling knows that Ohio Valley is actually back in the day responsible. They were the feeder system for the WWF.
Yeah, and they kind of start the series saying that, and then when the WWF moved their stuff to Florida with
NXT, or first it was CWC, which was a throwback to Vince's dad, but then they changed it to NXT. And now that's their developmental, their feeder system, and that's where most of their bigger names, when they move up to the main roster, they come from NXT.
Gotcha.
Unless you already have a name for yourself, like a Jade Cargill or a Kazuchika Okada. But back in the day, OVW is responsible for like John Cena, like that. He came out of their system. Roman Reigns, he came out of this. Randy Orton.
The Big Show was another one.
Bryan Danielson. CM Punk, I'm pretty sure, even came out of Ohio Valley. Like, no, I'm sorry. CM Punk actually was in the Ring of Honor system. So I forget him. But a bunch of the humongous stars of today started in Ohio Valley. In fact, if you're familiar at all with back in the day, like 2013 to 2016 WWE, when The Shield was the biggest thing, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose / John Moxley all came out of that Ohio Valley feeder system.
Gotcha.
So they are kingmakers, or they can be.
Yeah, and that's what like you had mentioned earlier, they were kind of the main feeder system, and they had a couple other leagues.
Yeah.
But once WWE moved operations, all them other leagues actually folded except for OVW. So they're kind of what's left over. And so the docuseries kind of follows this kind of fledgling wrestling company. And it's interesting to watch. Like I don't watch wrestling. I don't turn on wrestling on Wednesday or Friday nights or whatever nights it comes on, Saturday nights or
you pretty much all those. If you really are smart, Mark, it's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily keep up, but I love, and I've said this 100 times, I love the behind the thing. And so when I was a child, I loved wrestling. When I got in right at the heyday of Sergeant Slaughter and Mr. T and all
the cartoon
that.
era.
Yeah, when I started watching wrestling, Hulk was the king, but he was a lot younger. Guys like George the Animal Steel were running around, Junkyard Dog, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. These were like the stars of WWF.
It's like me with The Simpsons, where I was there for it, but I didn't really.
You didn't live it.
I didn't live it, but I respected it.
Yeah,
right.
Like you've
gone back to pay homage.
Like to this day, I ain't gonna lie. If Sergeant Slaughter walked in here, I'd mark out a little bit like a child.
You'd be hard pressed to find anybody under the age of 30 who wouldn't. I mean, Sergeant Slaughter was a big deal.
Yeah.
Even outside of the wrestling world, because Sergeant Slaughter was the only one who got a crossover G.I. Joe figure.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, he was part of that lexicon that brought wrestling to
the Sheik didn't get one
to the common person.
Oh wait, did the Sheik have one?
I'm just asking.
I don't remember. He might have.
I don't know. But but they incorporated Sergeant Slaughter into an actual other tentpole franchise. I mean, he was in the G.I. Joe cartoons of the Roadblock and Duke and all the stars of the cartoon.
Right.
There's Sergeant Slaughter running around with him. You're like, all right, that's a real man.
That's the height of kayfabe too.
Yeah.
When Slaughter
when he
became a sympathizer.
Yeah, I was out of wrestling by then.
You could. It's like that again, like that scene in The Simpsons where it's like, watch this, Lise. You can actually see the exact moment where all of America's heart breaks. There it is.
Yeah. I was fortunately out of wrestling by then, so I wasn't traumatized with Sergeant Slaughter.
Well, that or the Mega Powers explode. I mean, all of those those big tent pole events from the 1980s.
Or the inverse of that, Lex Luger, who's normally a narcissist heel, becoming an American icon figure.
Well, and that's just it. Like you legitimately could not root for the Iron Sheik or Nikolai Volkov in the 1980s. You just not if you lived in the United States of America.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just that way.
Which is great because up until he passed, may he rest in peace, nobody told Iron Sheik that, kayfabe was dead. Because
did Iron finally pass?
I'm pretty sure he did.
I thought he was
a
still
year or
with
so
us.
ago.
Did he?
About a year ago.
Oh, no. I thought he was still around.
But he, maintained kayfabe even in his tweets, X's, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, even...
It was like a few months ago, actually.
Was it?
Sheik
I was going to say it was real recently.
Well, to be honest, Sheik, even in his advanced retired years, I mean, he pulled back the curtain some.
Last June.
He pulled back the curtain some, but he still was he loved playing the bad guy a little bit. And he kind of still did it, even though, by the way, he's like French-Canadian. He's not
but that's just
Iranian
how,
or whatever he claimed
that's
to be.
how he learned to talk or to cut
I thought he
promos,
was Lebanese, actually.
Yeah, well, he's Lebanese, but he's born and raised in Quebec or something. Yeah, he's Lebanese, but he was born and raised in Canada.
He just really picked up on words like jabroni,
And lots of other words too.
Oh, lots of them. So here's the funny thing. OVW still has some connection with WWE. In fact, the fact that the series itself was on Netflix, it kind of lends itself to that because Netflix has been very WWE heavy. They actually just put forth a $5 billion deal to essentially buy all of the rights for WWE's broadcasts. Coupled with that, for the last 2 years, they've been working on a deep dive documentary into Vince McMahon. And that's before all of this was going down.
Okay.
The way it was understood was they were going to make the documentary they wanted to make. Vince was allowed to see what they did, but not have any creative input in it.
Okay. Well, and here's another curious thing that you mentioned about WWE and all that. And this is my naivete when I tell you this, so please forgive me. But the last episode of The Wrestlers I was watching, which is like the 5th episode or something like that.
Okay.
There's an opportunity where 4 or 5 of the OVW wrestlers, kind of their big guys, get to do a dark match with WWE's rival company. Is it WCW or
AEW?
AEW. Whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they got an opportunity to dark. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that was kind of yes, maybe, but
when
at
is
this
this?
point, OVW's like, I don't care who wants to partner with us. We're going to take. If we can get our thing bumped up here, we're going to do whatever it takes to get that.
This has been kind of the interesting thing with pro wrestling over the last couple of years, especially is you got your WWE. They don't really work with anybody. They sometimes will split out to like a CMLL, or now they're kind of starting to work with TNA a little bit.
Right.
But for the most part, they're the big dog. They know it. AEW, Tony Khan came along and he was starting to build relationships with like Mexico's CMLL and AAA, with over Brit wrestling organizations, Power and things like that. New Japan, he started building relationships with Stardom, all the Bushiroad Japanese wrestling companies, and so you're starting to see these promotions work together with each other and kind of like feed into each other. It's. I mean, we're bordering on another like territory war because like Tony Khan, the AEW guy, has been accused of poaching a lot of New Japan stars. Like he got Jay White, he got Will Ospreay, a bunch of huge stars in Japan. Basically decided we're going to go over to work for AEW now, and so maybe the Forbidden Door is not the greatest thing in the world, but they're working together for the first time since the territories. It's interesting.
Yeah, now that Triple H is in charge and instead of Vince McMahon, I think he's more willing to work with other promotions.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of doors that opened once McMahon was kind of out of the way, kind of thing, of the bridges and that he's burned over the years and things like that. I'm sure they're playing a little. We got to make nice and get things back to kosher, or we're all going to lose money.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to be like, look over here.
Yeah,
don't look at this stuff. Look over here.
Yeah, and. But I love the series, and then we got to move on.
Yeah.
This all the time. But I love the series because it really portrays, like, if you want to see like the behind the scenes wrestling, and because it's at that level, like these wrestlers, like they're big stars at night, but by day they're like working in hotel lobbies and gas stations and bars and grills and things like that in the towns that they're doing these wrestling.
And that's kind of the best part of watching the come up is, they're doing it for the love of the game.
And they got to, because then when they're wrestling too, like they'll go and they'll set up the wrestling ring at like some vegetable festival, and like 6 people will be there watching them wrestle, and it's like, wow, you gotta do this for the love.
That's hella catchy, by the way, the vegetable festival.
It's the poke salad festival. That's what they're at.
I want to start doing a farmer's market and just call it the vegetable festival, because that's just fun to say.
It's kind of fun.
Now, is this series like the Mickey Rourke movie?
No. Well, no. It's
like they follow OVW. It's like a day in the life kind of thing.
Yeah, it's real.
Okay.
It's not a scripted movie or scripted show. It's real people, just turn on the cameras and come play. And it's interesting. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't like wrestling, if you like humanity, it's interesting to watch. It's fun to watch. So. All right, let me give you the rundown and get her going. Joan Bouet joined us earlier this week from the Chaves County Federated Republican Women to invite all to their next meeting, which is Wednesday of next week. So we're going to play that interview here for you in just a few. Brian Luck, Roswell Independent School District Superintendent, joined us yesterday in the 7 o'clock hour to get us up to date on what's at their last school board meeting and just, about what's going on in the district. So we'll play that interview for you here around 8:15. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, around 9:15, we're going to have the folks from the 5th Judicial District DA's office join us here. They come by once a month, and we just talk a little bit about what's going on at the DA's office, kind of how the sausage is made a little bit. So could be some of the deputy DAs or lead investigator. I'm not sure who will join us, but one of the folks from the office will pop in, or multiple folks from the office will join us here. We'll get an update from them. Before we do any of that, let's go ahead and get you up to date on the weather.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. Pretty nice over the next couple of days. A little bit of cloud cover occasionally, but we will get plenty of sunshine as well. Afternoon highs going up to about 70. Some clouds drifting through for the overnight hours. Will be in the upper 30s, and then we get lots of sunshine on Friday with mid to upper 60s. The weekend looks fair and mild. We'll be in the mid to upper 60s. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. This stupid weather thing's doing all kind of stuff. Let's see. It says, do I have a current temp? I don't. I'm sorry. This weather app is not helping me at all. I can tell you the high is 69 today. Going to be partly cloudy. Winds out of the southeast 5 to 10. Humidity right now at 37%. And I don't. Currently an overnight low of 40 tonight. Sorry, the National Weather Service isn't working, and this one's not being very cooperative either. So, for Friday, we're looking at 63 for a high and sunny. Saturday, 43 for a high with some AM and clouds, sun in the afternoon. Sunday, we're back up into the 60s under mostly sunny skies, and then Monday, when you're heading back to work, 73. I'm telling you, Tuesday, 79. We're going to be pushing 80 like Tuesday next week. So. Warmer weather on the way. All right, it is 7:25. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then on the other side of the break, our interview with Joan from the Chaves County Federated Republican Women. Don't go away. You're listening to Mornings with Mike Winters.
Oasis Computers has been Roswell's trusted source for home and small business computers for over 30 years, and they continue to be your best resource for computer repairs, operating system upgrades, web root managed antivirus, special orders, and more. Oasis Computers is now open from 8 to 1, Monday through Friday to better serve you. Service calls by appointments and after-hour appointments are available too. Stop by Oasis Computers at 1703 North Garden or call or text 575-625-9141 for even faster service.
Who doesn't think the dentist is a big deal? I know what you're thinking. What will they find? How much will it hurt? What are my options? Hi, this is Dr. Sarah Usher, and I am here to tell you that here at Carabelli Dental, it is our job to put you at ease. With options like sedation dentistry, you can rest assured that regardless of what dental work you might need, you can get it done while resting comfortably. Call our office now and speak to our knowledgeable staff about setting up your new patient appointment.
Come see the team at Carabelli Dental or call 575-622-4455.
Nowadays, you can find almost anything on DIY projects, but it doesn't always work out. Let the professionals at Smith Paint, that have been around for 50 years, help you with color matching, installing, measuring, or picking out those beautiful blinds by Hunter Douglas or that perfect color by Benjamin Moore Paints to make your home or business look and feel fresh. Smith Paint, locally owned and operated, open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 608 South Main in Roswell, or follow them on Facebook or go to the website.
It takes a long time to develop trust. At LaGrone Funeral Chapel, they've been earning your trust for decades. They understand how important it is to friends and family to celebrate a life in the way you choose. The professionals at LaGrone will ease your stress and anxieties. They'll provide the guidance you need to select a service that's appropriate. And that's what they've been doing for generations, earning your trust and doing the right thing. LaGrone Funeral Chapel and Crematory, 900 South Main in Roswell. Online at LaGroneFuneralChapels.com.
Can't hear as well as you used to? That can happen to the best of us. But when you can't hear people speaking or birds chirping, it's time to take action. That's when it's time to call Howard Allman with Here on Earth Hearing Care Center. Howard has been helping people hear better for over 55 years. Howard is who helps the Artesia seniors with servicing their hearing aids of all makes with free cleaning and hearing evaluations, and he's ready to help you. Howard can share with you information on Audibel Intrigue AI hearing aids with many features you might not expect a hearing aid can do, such as using your hearing aids to stream calls, music, and more. Plus, health monitoring, count steps, even fall detection, all built in. Meet face-to-face with someone who can help you choose the right hearing aid for you. Call Howard at 575-622-0375, and he'll be glad to set up a time to meet with you. That's 575-622-0375 for Howard Allman of Here on Earth Hearing Care Center.
You are 13.8% more likely to die on your birthday. Think about that the next time you want to celebrate your birthday month. Here's Mike Winters.
And welcome back to the morning show. And joining us in studio this morning from the Chaves County Federated Republican Women, Joan Bouet back with us. Good morning, Joan.
Good morning, and I'm delighted to be back on this cold, snowy day.
I know, it's it can't make up its mind around here.
Know.
It's cold one day and 65 the next. So
yeah, incredible.
You wonder why we're all sick, right?
Exactly. Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely. Well, for folks not familiar, Joan and or the Chaves County Federated Republican Women join us each month. Usually it's a Wednesday right before their monthly meeting, which in this case will be next Wednesday at the Convention and Civic Center. And they meet, the Chaves County Federated Republican Women meet each month there. And each meeting is focused on a different, sometimes it's candidates, Republican candidates, presenting themselves, introducing themselves to the masses here. Sometimes it's themed, like at your Veterans Day during November and Christmas. And so each one kind of theme, but you always have a great meal and then a great discussion or guest speaker each time. So.
Okay. Well, our meeting is next week, which is the 21st.
Yes. It's hard to believe we're already... We'll be talking March in a minute.
We're halfway through February.
February's a blink.
And our speakers are going to be our county manager, Bill Williams.
Okay.
And our city manager, Chad Cole.
All right. So the management team from the city and the county will be the heads of them, will be our guest speakers for this upcoming one.
We thought it would be interesting to know, number one, what are the biggest concerns that they have at this time? What are their plans for 2024? And how do they work together between the city and the county?
Absolutely.
We thought that would be an interesting topic.
It's an important relationship, and
yes.
And for folks who don't realize, the city manager and the county manager, they run the city or the county. That's what they go to the marching orders of the county commission or the city council, but they're the ones that when your road's not, that they're the ones overseeing the departments to making sure they're doing their jobs. And so it's a very, very important position as the city or county manager. They're kind of the head person in charge of the government for the county or city respectively.
Well, that's absolutely true. Chad is fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
We did have him a year ago when he was very, very new.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see what has developed with him over this past year.
Sure.
And
imagine he's had a lot to learn in a year because he came. For folks that don't know, he was one of the from the school district. He worked there as assistant superintendent and various roles and things.
And a finance man.
Yeah. And so he's got experience at that level, but I'm sure running school business and city business aren't the same all the time. So
it's probably a learning curve.
Yeah, so I'd be very curious to see lessons learned in a year from him. What was it what he expected it, how different, or is it how I'd be very curious about it.
Well, I think he has a great support team, and I think that's important.
That is key. Yeah.
And he has mentioned that in the paper several times. Would you like to know what we're having for lunch?
Of course. I'm always a food guy. This is, I would say not quite, but almost more important than the guest speaker.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll give the tip of the nod to the guest speaker, but the food's right there.
Right. Well, I will tell you, Peppers is now our caterer.
Oh, good. So it's going to be good regardless.
Because things have changed at the convention center.
Yeah, they now changed some rules and who can do what to wear and all that.
Right. So we'll start off with a salad.
All right.
And then we will have spaghetti and meatballs.
A little Italian meal for lunch?
A real Italian meal, garlic bread, dessert, and tea.
Nice.
And that is $17. which really is a deal when you think about it.
Absolutely.
And
if you leave hungry, it's kind of your own fault because there's usually a ton of food.
There is a ton of food, and there's a ton of food. And
I hear tell that like Janine, or usually what there's leftovers, there's a group of women amongst the Federated Republican women that are either blessed or cursed with having to take the leftovers home, depending on how much are there.
To be honest, when you are running the meeting as I am, you don't have time.
I'm about to say you don't usually get to eat the lunches till probably for dinner.
So about 6 of us do sit around afterward and kind of really do eat up
lunch,
whatever is left.
Yeah.
So we do encourage people to come.
So save them a meatball or two and some spaghetti.
Oh, come join us.
Absolutely, come out.
Come join us.
And I'm telling you, and of course we always have the county manager on each month, and he's a wealth of information too. So you got 2 great guest speakers. If you really want to know kind of the inside of how the sausage is made in Chavez County, you've got 2 of the most knowledgeable people that'll be speaking at that event next week.
Absolutely. I'd like to mention that I'm not sure exactly when our legislators are due back, but
because they wrap up this week here.
I think they do. A lot of them stay on for committees or other issues.
It might be next week for they're back in town again.
It might be. I'm not sure they're going to make it. They normally do come to our meeting, but I might mention in March we will have all of our legislators back.
Good deal.
And I will tell you, our legislators here in Chavez County have worked very hard to stay strong, to work together during this very, very difficult
Well, they're
section.
always outgunned and outnumbered every time they walk into a room in Santa Fe.
Absolutely.
That's just what, and so they're fighting that battle every time, and what they do for us to try to kind of hold the line in the sand, so to speak, is we're so blessed to have them, and we need more of them. They need help. We hope other parts of the state hope to start putting some conservative representation in our legislature to at least get us to the middle.
we are working on a couple of the legislative seats that we are hoping can be flipped in November, and perhaps years ago, I'm sure you remember, we did take back the House years ago. And I believe we held it for one
one session, one year.
I think it was 2 years, actually.
Enough for one term.
one term, exactly. And it was very liberating to have both sides equal, and we just don't have that.
And I mean, obviously, as Republicans, you lean and want have conservative principles and values, and unfortunately the state of New Mexico has been so liberal for so long that it's all one way or the other, and I'm telling you, if it was the reverse where it was all conservative, that wouldn't be good either. You need a little balance there when it comes to our legislature. When you have all voices in the room, the liberals and the conservatives talking equally, then you're going to get good results out of that.
You're right. And years ago, I worked this session for years. We did walk across the aisle and work with the other side. I do not see that happening at all.
Right. Well, and they don't have to because the numbers aren't there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so we've got to get it to where we got to give help to our legislatures. Like you said, the ones here in Chavez County and Southeast New Mexico, they're fighting these battles every legislative session.
Absolutely.
There's just not enough of them. And so we need more of the help there. And so we hope they get that rally, and so other parts of the state, we hope they start flipping and stuff too. So hopefully some of the Federated Republican women of some of the other counties are doing their part to make some headway in their respective areas.
Well, I will tell you, as president of the Chavez County Federated Republican Women, it is always my position to inform and educate our Republican voters. Mm-hmm. But my third goal is to keep Chavez County red, and we will do whatever it takes. We will walk door to door. We'll deliver literature. We'll make phone calls. We'll register people to vote.
Have done all the above already, actually.
We've done that. Work the
Absolutely.
polls.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to keep our county red.
And by the way, the Chavez County Federated Republican Women are always looking for new members to be a part of it. Obviously, women
But men are also part of the Chaves County Federated Republican Women. They serve in more of an auxiliary capacity, but they are very much a part. So if you like to do it as a couple, maybe the wife is a member and then the spouse is an auxiliary member, or whatever you want to do there. But if you are interested in getting more involved, if you want to stay informed and stay up to date, it might be a good way to do it. But even if you find candidates that you like and want to get more involved in their campaigns, the Chaves County Federated Republican Women are a great conduit to help you get in touch with the various candidates, conservative candidates that line up with your values and things.
Well, thank you for that. I would like to kind of do a little bit of bragging. In 2023, Chaves County Federated Republican really had a banner year.
Nice.
And the first thing I would like to mention, there was a convention in October up in Santa Fe for the New Mexico Federation of Republican Women. And there were 7 awards given, and we received 5 of them.
Wow, y'all were cleaning up at the award ceremony. Nice.
Number 1
they got tired of hearing you getting called after a while, I bet.
I was the one going up every time.
You got some walking miles there. Her pedometer's up from walking up back and forth of the stage.
But the very first thing is we are the largest Federated Republican Women's Club in the state of New Mexico, which I think says volumes for us. We've worked it hard, and we plan to do the same again this year. We also received the Diamond Award from the National Federation of Republican Women, which is the highest award that you can get.
Wow.
Basically for our involvement not only in the political arena, but also what we do here in Chaves County.
Absolutely. It is the Chaves, for folks that don't know, the Chaves County Federated Republican Women are a service organization as much as a political organization. When they're not, on campaigns and getting involved there, they're helping young people through education and getting them through scholarships and things. They're working with other nonprofits in the community to partner up and help out with their tentpole things, like when like Altrusa or various, other clubs that have their passion projects. The Chaves County Federated Republican Women will jump on board and help them out too if they can. That's the kind of stuff that they, when they're not, raising awareness and stumping for candidates, they're in the community helping people that need help. So.
Well, Janine is our Caring for America chair, and this Wednesday we will be delivering cupcakes, ice cream, and handmade Valentine cards to every resident at the Assurance Home.
Oh, nice.
We've also gotten notes to our handwritten notes to our military, one at Eglin Air Force Base.
Okay.
And 350 cards to Fort Benning, Georgia, which is an Army base.
Yeah.
So we do care about our community. And you mentioned a scholarship. We will be getting ready to present a scholarship this year.
Good.
To a young man or woman who is a senior in high school. And the other thing that we're doing with Gateway, 8th graders, we'll be doing a contest on patriotism.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, we did it we've done it for 10 years. Very successful.
Very good. I'm just curious, what's kind of some of the stuff that you do with the kids during that? Like, do they give them like a essay or something they got to write? Or they do?
Yes.
I'm just kind of curious what kind of things y'all do with them.
Well, we do an essay,
Okay.
and it's a 3-parted essay. The first thing that we ask them is, what is the meaning of patriotism?
Okay.
What does that mean to you? The second paragraph would be, who is the most patriotic person that you know?
Okay.
And it could be somebody that you know right now.
Sure.
It could be a past president. It could be somebody who is deceased. But who do you think is the most patriotic person, and why do you think they are the most patriotic? And then the last paragraph is, what can you as an 8th grader do to become more patriotic?
Nice.
And it's amazing the things that they came up with.
I would imagine to hear their responses is pretty, especially I love the patriotism one. That one, because to me, that's a pretty vast subject, because there's many different ways to show patriotism.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of us realize all the different ways. And sometimes it doesn't even seem like patriotism, but it really is. You know what I mean? And that's part of patriotism, is standing up for what's right. So when you see Americans standing up for American values in a form of protest, that to me is patriotism too, in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
They had some incredible ideas. Number one was always saluting the flag when we do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
And always holding your hand on your heart.
Yeah.
Putting your flag out on the 4th of July, on Memorial Day, on Labor Day. Putting your flag out in your yard.
Yeah.
Which shows that you are a patriotic citizen. It's a way of us determining who we are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's the thing, you know, I was in the military, and why many others have joined the military, and younger people, I mean, all people, a lot of people don't realize it, but younger, because, you know, you don't have the experience of the world in front of you. And you don't realize how wonderful this country is and how different it is from other countries, and even countries that we would consider first world, you know, modern countries like the United States would be. You know, you go to England, you go to Australia, there are certain things that are different that you can and cannot do there. It's a freedom here and things like that you don't realize and take for granted, you know, and that's the beauty of this country, is that freedom to choose what, even if people don't agree with it, you have the freedom to do that. And no other country on the planet allows that in the way that the United States of America does that.
Fortunately for me, I have visited other countries, and when you come home, you want to kneel down and kiss Mother Earth here in the United States of America.
Absolutely.
Because we are so very blessed in what we have.
Absolutely. And it's that patriotism, that love of country, but at the same time, the checks and balances. When people try to do things that go with that, then it is onus is on us to stand up and say something about that. And that's part of it. And that's, you know, kind of what in the world we're living in right now is, you know, we're putting that to the test a little bit here. And so, you know, it's hard to you know, you got to, you know, when you're a patriot, you know what's right and doing what's right. And that's part of that too. And that's, I love that the kids get to think about that a little bit and put that into context a little bit, especially at that level, middle school, going into high school. They're kind of learning their way in the world and learning, you know, more than their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. They're kind of learning a little bit about how humanity works. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we had 4 people judge these essays, and my husband offered to help, and he was absolutely amazed at the level that these young people were thinking. They were all very, very well done. We had 1 prize, 1 award. We wound up giving 4 awards because there were so many very good essays.
Well, I hope y'all make it a problem for them again this year like that. Do that, please. Make it tough, or they got to give more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I do a lot with the historical side. That's one of mine, and they do high school scholarships too. And I'm telling you, that is one of the. I'm so glad I'm not a part of it, because I mean the essays, everything are great, but it is so hard to pick, because every single one of these deserve it, in my opinion. When you read them and everything, it's like, how do I pick one better than the other? There really isn't. They're all deserving, but you got to do it.
I got the wonderful job over a long weekend just reviewing the 28 applicants and kind of whittling it down to the top 10.
Yeah.
And that was not an easy chore.
No, it's not, because they're all deserving of it.
They are all so
just
good.
Like, man, I want to give them all, but it's the nature of the beast.
It is.
But please apply. Please get involved and get and come out to the next meeting here next Wednesday. Come here. Like I said, I'm telling you right now, you're going to learn a lot from Bill Williams and Chad Cole. Both of those gentlemen, they've got a wealth of information, and I think, and what I like about it is they're not elected officials, so answers from elected officials are different than answers from elected officials sometimes. And so, and this is all politics. It's not Democrat, Republican. It's just politicians. By nature, that's how they are. And sometimes when you got the people that are basically hired to do the job, you learn details that are different. And sometimes it's because the politicians don't know. I mean, the politicians, their theory, concept, but when it comes to day-to-day operations of things, that they're not, nor should they know all of that stuff. Where a guy like Chad or Bill, they're a little bit more knowledgeable about that stuff.
Absolutely.
And so they can share that with you. So when you ask a city council or county commissioner about how something works at the wastewater treatment plant, they're probably going to give you a deer in headlights look. Where you talk to a city manager, they can explain it a little bit better to you.
Well, and I might mention, you do not have to order a meal in order to come. No. You can just come.
Although you're going to get hungry and smell it and be like, I wish I got one.
Well, that would be wonderful. we always have extra.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't have to if you don't feel obligated or you're on a diet or you still haven't blown your New Year's resolution yet. Then you don't. But then come for the. But please RSVP just so we can have a head count, enough seats for everybody and everything.
That would be wonderful.
And but I highly recommend, especially since now Peppers is full on board as the official caterer here. You're going to want lunch. It's going to be good. It's tasty, and there's nothing harder than not eating when everyone around you's eating.
And it looks so good, Mike.
Especially if you're hungry.
It looks so. Well, I am so delighted that I was able to come and speak with you today. It's been a while since I've been here.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, we've had Janine in the last couple of times, so we missed you last few years.
Yes, so. I think I've had a little bit of whatever you've had.
Yeah.
And it does knock you down.
It kicks your butt and then some. So I'm glad you're doing better.
Thank you.
And folks, come on out next Wednesday. Everything will be at the Roswell Convention and Civic Center. 11:30. Everything kind of gets underway there, and you'll be done by about 1.
Exactly.
With lunch, so you're back to work or wherever you're off to next. RSVP. Look for if you go find the Chaves County Federated Republican Women Facebook page.
Great.
That's a great way to shoot a message there. But if you know a Chaves County Federated Republican Women, they can take your reservation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Anytime, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Now for your Pecos Valley News Update, I'm Jared Cirillo. We are learning a few more details about the officer-involved tragedy in Las Cruces last weekend. On Sunday, patrol officer Jonah Hernandez was killed when a suspect stabbed him with apparently a knife. Immediately after, a witness to the ordeal shot and killed the suspect. Hernandez had responded to the report of a trespasser. The first sign of trouble came when the witness used Hernandez's police radio to speak with dispatchers and relay that he had been wounded. Police are not releasing the suspect's name at this time. Incumbent Artesia Municipal Court Judge Sarah Gallegos has announced that she will run for the job again. Gallegos has called Artesia home for the last 12 years. Before being appointed to the judgeship, she worked part-time for the Eddy County Clerk's sub-office. She was appointed judge after the previous judge announced a retirement in 2019. You're up to date. I'm Jared Cirillo reporting.
In real life, the pricier the neighborhood, the more expensive the grocery store. And guess what? Websites work the same way. I'm Kim Commando, America's Digital Pro. Only 1 in 3 Americans know online shops use your device's location to raise and lower prices on their products. I know it's a big number. Depending on where you live, you could get the short end of the stick with deals. But there are ways to navigate around this. Number 1, get a VPN and change your virtual location to one you suspect gets those lower prices on products. Buy through there, ship to your home address. I use ExpressVPN. Number 2, compare prices online. Sites like PriceGrabber and Google Shopping take a look at the cost of items all over the web. And finally, number 3, track prices on the products that you want. If you have Chrome, Keepa is a powerful extension. You can keep tabs on price history charts on the items that you want from Amazon. Or use the site Camel. Want more tech smarts? Let me be your secret ninja. Try my longer daily podcast. It's called Kim Commando Today.
I'll never forget that day when my son asked me where in Los Angeles I lived years and years ago. Well, I could remember the street, but not the house number. Well, a couple of minutes later, Ian read me the exact address. He found it on a People Search website, along with my personal cell phone. Yikes. It's not just me. I hear from folks all the time shocked at what they can find out about themselves online. And that's where Incogni comes in. Instead of navigating these tricky sites, Incogni does the work for you. So far, they removed my name and personal information from over 100 different websites. Plus, my personal data is on over 24 data suppression lists, meaning it's illegal for these companies to get my name ever again. Even better, they check on a regular basis that data brokers didn't sneak me back in.
Try it for yourself and see how easy it is. Get 60% off at Incogni.com with code KIM60. That's INCOGNI. Incogni.com, code KIM60. Incogni.com, code KIM60.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. Pretty nice over the next couple of days. A little bit of cloud cover occasionally, but we will get plenty of sunshine as well. Afternoon highs going up to about 70. Some clouds drifting through for the overnight hours. Will be in the upper 30s, and then we get lots of sunshine on Friday with mid to upper 60s. The weekend looks fair and mild. Will be in the mid to upper 60s. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
It's time for the Chaves County Sports Report. The Roswell Coyotes ventured out into Ralph Tasker country, playing at Hobbs last night, but losing 72-67 in boys basketball. That means that both teams are now 2-2 in district play. Hobbs 10-14 overall, Roswell 13-11. Next up for the Coyotes will be a trip to Carlsbad. That'll be Friday night at 7 o'clock. Meanwhile, the Roswell girls played at home against Hobbs, and I believe we've mentioned how good the Hobbs girls are. They are now 21-3 overall, 4-0 in district play after smashing the Coyotes on Roswell's home gym, 65-28. Roswell is 1-3 overall, and will be playing host to Carlsbad Friday night at 7 o'clock. Carlsbad beat Clovis last night in girls hoops, 44-43. The Sports Report brought to you by DSI. Call DSI for all your office technology needs. I'm Eric Butler at Roswell Talk FM 106.5.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Bill Alexander. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Wednesday that recent consumer price inflation data was a tad higher than expectations. Yellen called it a tremendous mistake to focus on minor fluctuations and to have failed to see the longer term and bigger trends. And the trend here, she says, is that inflation is moving decisively down. Kraft Heinz forecast its annual core sales to grow at a slower pace after posting a steeper than expected drop in quarterly sales, a sign that demand for its sauces and meat cold cuts would remain muted as customers try to digest past price hikes. The makers of Hershey and Cadbury chocolates are planning more price hikes to cover a fresh record-setting surge in cocoa prices, even as inflation hit consumers curb their purchases and company profits face a hit. Oil futures sank by $1 a barrel on Wednesday as surging U.S. crude inventories pushed down prices. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Bill Alexander in Washington.
In the version of the Bible I'm reading, the title to Psalm 61 is this: Lead Me to the Rock. That's a great title for not only this psalm, but also for the whole book of Psalms. All are meant to lead us to the rock, our Lord God. Psalm 61 reads like this: Hear my cry, O God, listen to my prayer. From the end of the earth I call to you when my heart is faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for you have been my refuge, a strong tower against the enemy. The writer of the psalm shares words of praise and hope, questioning and despair, and everything else in between. The highs and lows of emotions are written in these verses. It was the songbook of the early church, and it can be the songbook to our lives as well. Wherever you find yourself, whatever stage of life, you can find a psalm that speaks to you. Take some time to read and listen and meditate on the psalms. One a day, a few a day, whatever you can. Listen to the words and then let them bring you comfort, strength, and then empathize with you. And ultimately, let them lead us to the rock that is our God.
Join us at the Country Club Road Church of Christ for worship at 10 a.m. on Sunday, located on the corner of Country Club and Washington in Roswell.
At Richland Motors, it's never been easier to sell or trade your current car, truck, or SUV for a newer model to hit the road in. Even if you don't purchase from Richland, they want to buy your vehicle for top dollar. But if you do buy from Richland, don't forget, they're the home of the powertrain warranty for life. That's a whole lot of confidence for you. See Richland for details, 2nd and Sycamore, and 1309 Southeast Main.
Pecos Valley Production is excited to announce their online ordering has never been easier because now you can order from PVP online in Spanish. Simply head for PecosValleyProduction.com and switch the tab on the bottom left of your screen from English to Spanish. Now it's never been easier to get access to the healing and calming products you need simply and affordably. Just log on to PecosValleyProduction.com and switch the tab on the bottom left of the screen from English to Spanish. Pecos Valley Production. Dairy to dank since 2016. Must be 21 or over with valid ID to purchase.
Foot and ankle problems are often agonizing, but they don't have to be. At Artesia General Hospital, we're passionate about helping every patient return to optimal mobility with confidence and comfort. Our board-certified podiatrists, Dr. Jennifer Chow and Dr. Michael Krupa, provide a full spectrum of services ranging from routine foot care and pain relief to customized treatment plans and leading-edge surgeries. Visit artesiageneral.com/foot care to request your appointment today.
Score a touchdown at your next tailgate with La Poblanita Party Tostadas. The perfect chip with the most satisfying crunch in the game. Flavored just right with El Charro's signature seasoning, it's the dippable chip that bites back. Make game night a winner with the chips everybody talks about. The chips that make bland salsas better and good salsas great. Snag a bag of La Poblanita Party Tostadas at your local grocery stores all over southeastern New Mexico. And get the party started with La Poblanita Party Tostadas by El Charro. They're all that and a bag of chips.
A Greek-Canadian man invented the Hawaiian pizza. His name was Tex Colorado, and he was from Detroit. Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is closing in on 7:58. Stay tuned next hour. Around 8:15 or so, we're going to replay our interview we had with Superintendent Brian Luck of the Roswell Independent School District. He joined us yesterday, so we'll play that for you next hour. I did a service. I watched a video, so now you guys don't have to watch it. It's actually, I watched it at the end of it. So the premise of it real quick was I got wrapped up in a wormhole of a video of a guy who's doing a test on what keeps like fresh rose fresher longer. And so he's got, each rose and he's cutting it and doing his thing. And then he puts each individual rose in a different combination of water and something to see which one will keep the rose fresh longer. And so he does about 10 different ones, everything from a battery to popcorn kernels to Red Bull to pennies to the flower food that comes with the roses when you buy it, and Efferdent, the denture cleaner. It was like a bevy of them. So the video goes on forever. He's showing how he sets up the experiment, and that's the part I got wrapped up because it's a 20-minute video that took me really 3 minutes of information to learn. But basically, I learned that if you're trying to keep your roses fresh a little longer, there's a bunch of, I guess you could say, home remedies or old wives' tale things and stuff on there. And pretty much all of them, some were garbage. There was one like bleach and sugar water. That was complete garbage. But pretty much what I learned is there's two things that work best for keeping your roses fresh. One is the flower food that they give you. So just use that. Or pennies, weirdly enough. They threw the pennies, and those are about equally same. So after all that, just use the food they gave you. All right, it's 8 o'clock. You're listening to 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM, KEND, Roswell, New Mexico. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomas. Former President Trump has failed in a bid to have his New York hush money criminal case tossed out. Following a brief hearing that just wrapped up, a New York judge said that Mr. Trump's trial will go ahead as scheduled. That means a jury selection will be starting on March 25th. The judge says he made the decision after speaking with the judge in Mr. Trump's now delayed federal election interference case in Washington, D.C. Mr. Trump's legal team had argued that the New York criminal case is politically motivated and is also marred by legal defects. Gunfire sent people running for their lives at yesterday's Super Bowl victory celebration in Kansas City. One person was killed, 21 other people were injured, 3 people have been detained, and some firearms have now been recovered. 3 Washington, D.C. police officers, they were shot yesterday while trying to serve a warrant for animal cruelty, are expected to recover from their wounds. Americans hit the pause button on spending last month following a splurge during the holiday season.
The Commerce Department says retail sales fell 0.8% from the strong pace in December, when retail sales were up a revised 0.4%. Economists had expected consumers to pull back on spending late last year under the weight of credit card debt and delinquencies, as well as lower savings. Yet despite those challenges, along with higher borrowing costs and tighter credit conditions, Household spending has been fueled by strong job growth and rising wages.
Correspondent Jeremy House saying that Hamas refuses to give up what he calls its delusional demands. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has pulled out of ceasefire talks taking place in Cairo. On Wall Street, the Dow up 173. The Nasdaq is down 44 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Do you like pricking your fingers to test your blood sugar levels? No one does, but it's important to maintain your health. And now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you don't need to prick your fingers anymore. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. And if you have Medicare or most major insurance coverage, you may be able to get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how to end the painful finger sticks and get your own continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
A deadly Israel-Hezbollah skirmish in northern Israel. The latest from the Media Line's Felice Friedson.
Tension along Israel's northern border with Lebanon heated up on Wednesday when Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorists fired multiple rocket barrages into northern Israel. Targets included the ancient city of Sfat, Israeli army and air force bases nearby. One woman was killed and 8 others wounded by the lethal firings. Ironically, the new attacks came as word of a new truce between Israel and Lebanon-based terrorist groups was circulating. Meanwhile, the solid political unity displayed by Israel appears to be dissipating. Israel's war cabinet has been accused by right-wing politicians of surrendering to Hezbollah after the latest attacks produced responses residents felt were insignificant. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. What a difference a goose egg can make.
Lyft shares jumped 62% after the bell Tuesday, thanks in part to a typo in the ride-hailing company's earnings release that sent investors' auto-trading algorithms, also known as bots, into a buying frenzy. Lyft's fourth quarter report initially forecast that an important profit metric was expected to climb by 500 basis points or 5% this year. However, the company informed investors about 5 minutes after the original release that there was 1 zero too many in that number and corrected it to 50 basis points, a much more realistic 0.5%. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Cybersecurity experts warn that hospitals around the U.S. at risk for attacks like the one that's crippling operations at a premier Midwestern children's hospital. Experts want the government in Washington to do more to prevent such data breaches. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The travel listen, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk? Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 6 minutes after 8 o'clock. Welcome to hour number to
The Deuce
of Mornings with Mike Winters, right here on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM. You have a look of, I'm lost. But when he looks at me like that when I'm talking, I'm like, uh-oh, what's going wrong? Happy Thursday, everybody. All good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, good. Sean got me
sure
worried.
the thing that I exported actually exported. We're good.
But I was working on, oddly enough, semi-technical issues right before I was going on air. And because I was telling you earlier last hour about National Weather Service not being working for us.
Yep.
Well, I think it's our own internet that's blocking us.
Really?
Because I can't access it on my computers here. But I take my iPad off the Wi-Fi and I go there, it opens right up. So you think something in our internet's something
like a firewall thing.
Yeah, something. That's above my pay grade.
Well, there you go.
I don't know.
Well, you figured it out. I like, by the way, that you color coordinated today.
I went with the green hat.
Nice.
And the green, I need to tell my wife. I have not told her this decision I've come to yet, but I think this weekend I'm going to get on there and get me a few more of these hats to because now I got to coordinate and stuff.
You know what your next move needs to be? You need to become a sneakerhead.
Could
you can
be.
get sneakers, start getting kicks that match your hat and your shirt combo.
Could.
Like if you're going to lean in, you should lean all the way in.
It could, but that's an expensive hobby.
It is. Oh boy, how is it?
These hats, I get them for about $30-$40 a piece. They're not so bad.
You just got to know where to shop. That's all. I can become a sneakerhead. Just I buy all my sneakers from Walmart at
right.
$13 a piece.
These are the Maypop 7s.
John Cena looking.
Oh, you turn your mic on.
I was gonna say you come out like John Cena, wearing different colors every time.
Yeah, but you got to color coordinate.
I ain't gonna lie. The fact that John Cena's on almost everything now, I kind of like. It kind of makes me happy.
He's
sometimes.
all over the place. He's on Wipeout. I think they're about to put out the new season of Peacemaker.
Yeah, like I gotta be honest. Cena might be out rocking the Rock.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. Because the story goes that he really screwed up the whole DC universe thing because he was basically trying to restart it around Black Adam versus Superman. He was going to bring Cavill back as Superman, and DC decided no, you're not doing that. And that's when was it Whedon, I guess, got the reins. I'm not sure one of them.
Okay.
James Gunn.
Yeah, James Gunn. Yeah, took over the franchise.
So are we done with Black Adam then?
Pretty much, yeah. He had his one
and no more.
Yeah.
He didn't want to play second fiddle.
It'd be kind of like if Shazam decided he was going to make himself the center of the Marvel universe or something.
Well, what does Batman have?
Well, no,
or DC universe, I guess.
It's like if the Joker tried to make a movie just about the Joker, but then leave the Batman out of it. And try to create his own franchise.
I mean, why can't Batman and Wonder Woman regulate? Because they've been kind of hating on to Superman's coattails for a long time now. One could argue Wonder Woman could make a case of being like the main. She's pretty tough, Well,
the first movie was good.
I mean, Batman, he's just relying on all his gadgets and money, so he can't be the top guy. I mean, we're talking about people from other planets and other dimensions here. So,
what's the first rule of Batman school? You never take off tactical pants.
I mean, let's face it. Batman had to look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, even just to hang in the room with Superman.
That's
for a
true.
minute.
He did. He had to go Michelin Man up.
I'm just saying, So, well, I just wish DC would get a little bit more Marvel-like in giving me consistency. I'm tired of 37 reboots.
Yeah.
I've seen the Batman story 5 million times. I don't need to see it again.
Oh, and you're going to love this.
Yeah.
There's talk of a new reboot of, I believe either Batman or maybe it was Superman with Elliot Page. Is that his name?
Really?
Yeah.
No, well, not Superman, I don't think.
It was one of them. The thing popped up on my...
That's funny.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find the story.
That's just funny.
I mean, it would be interesting.
Although when you look at the way things are going nowadays, where they recast characters, and they get like a person of a different, they race swap them or something.
Yeah.
And you look at the new Superman cast, and it's like, what is going on? Everyone's the exact how they look in the comics for the past 100 years.
God forbid we didn't change them.
Like, is something okay? Is everything okay?
No, we're not. We're not okay. Go ahead and ask Elmo how everybody's doing. He'll be glad to tell you.
All I know is Elliot Page's Superman is probably the funniest thing I've heard all day.
Actor Elliot Page said he might be interested in playing Bruce Wayne / Batman in James Gunn's new DC universe.
Oh, Batman.
Yeah, Batman.
Oh, not Superman.
Batman.
Oh, well, never mind then.
Mm-hmm.
They can be Batman.
Do
they go by they?
I think he goes by he.
Okay. Or never mind.
I wanted to
conclude
conclude our wrestling.
No. We
thing.
did that last hour. We don't need to keep it going.
Yeah, we wrestled we out wrestled.
Don't hijack. I pointed that out. I was like, we're not going to hijack. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I have a 37-minute interview, so we need to wrap this up. I don't want to get too in depth.
Get a podcast. I want to do the same thing. Trust me.
But real quick, and I kind of just ended it at last hour. But you know how I got those stupid videos that you get sucked into that really you don't learn nothing but all that. And it was a whole one about which rose will keep the rose fresh
pennies,
longer.
Right?
Pennies or just the flour food that literally comes with the flour that you bought to begin with. Like he was thorough. He did like a battery. He did pennies. He did like unpopped popcorn kernels. He did Red Bull sugar loaded.
I've heard Red Bull.
Don't.
Really?
Not according to them results. Sugar water and bleach. What else was in there? There was a couple of them. I mean, it was like, Efferdent, the denture cleaner.
But my guess is that my kid's mom watched the same video a few days ago because she was talking about, you could just put pennies into rose water.
Well, he did them all, and some worked pretty good. But at the end of the day, the two that were the best was the pennies and the one that was just the flour food that comes with it. You put it there to let it go.
Idiot proof. We gave you the stuff.
Oh, 7-Up was one of them, I think. Yeah, it was a lot of it. But yeah, the Red Bull was one of the worst looking ones, actually. So don't do the Red Bull. And like he even had them in like this little cone thing so they wouldn't fall over. It just basically and they're all in the environment. And then when he pulled them out, you could see the ones that were kind of...
That feels like a George Lopez solution. Hey, did you try a 7-Up? Pour a 7-Up in there.
He didn't try Windex, weirdly enough. That's the one thing I noticed. There's no Windex. All right, it is 8:14. We got our interview with Brian Luck. He joined us, superintendent for the RASD. He joined us yesterday to give us an update at the last school board meeting and talk a little bit of that stuff. So we'll get that going here in just a few. But first, the weather.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. Pretty nice over the next couple of days. A little bit of cloud cover occasionally, but we will get plenty of sunshine as well. Afternoon highs going up to about 70. Some clouds drifting through for the overnight hours. We'll be in the upper 30s, and then we get lots of sunshine on Friday with mid to upper 60s. The weekend looks fair and mild. We'll be in the mid to upper 60s. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. Currently, 39 degrees and fair here in Roswell. Humidity is at 62% with winds out of the north at 5 miles per hour. Sunny today. Expect highs near 70, 69 officially. Winds will be out of the south 5 to 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy tonight with an overnight low of 36 degrees. Southwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday, sunny, 63 for a high tomorrow. Winds will be out of the northwest 10 to 15 miles per hour. Friday night, mostly clear with an overnight low of 34 degrees. East winds 5 to 10. Then for your weekend, Saturday, we got that one day of it's just cold. Partly cloudy, 45 our expected high on Saturday. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy with an overnight low of 30. And then Sunday, we're back up into the mid-60s again, mostly sunny, 64 for a high. And then President's Day, Monday, 74. 77 on Tuesday, 75. Yeah, we'll be pushing 80 like by Tuesday of next week. So warmer weather on the way, but we got to get through that one weird 46 day on Saturday. All right, it is 8:16. Quick commercial break, and then we're going to play our interview with Brian Luck. Don't go away.
So what do love and onions have in common? Well, they both can make you cry, and both are on our mind right now. Hi, this is Jim Gill from Roswell Seed Company. February is a time for roses and chocolate kisses, but it's also time to plant onion. Yeah, I know, you were wondering. Where is he going with this? Growing your own onions is easy and fun, and we have everything you need to get started. So when you think of love, think of onion.
Just be sure and bring along a few breath mint.
Yes, dear.
Double Up Days are back at Roswell Honda, and that means double your tax refund up to $2,000 right now. $1,000 get you $2,000, $1,500 get you $3,000, and $2,000, well, that gets you $4,000 towards your next vehicle at Roswell Honda, and that's on every make and model across the lot. Bring in your tax refund and let Roswell Honda double your refund up to $2,000. Now's the time to make your dollars go even further, and it all starts right here. Double Up Days are back at Roswell Honda, 2177 West 2nd.
At Anderson Bethany Funeral Home and Crematorium, we honor and pay tribute to the achievements of your loved one by celebrating the life you shared together. Anderson Bethany Funeral Home and Crematorium is compassionate and cares about our local community and the families we serve here in southeastern New Mexico. Locally owned and operated, we will be here to help you decide how to celebrate the bond you've shared and pay tribute to the unique individual you've lost. Visit us at 2609 South Main in Roswell or call 622-5888.
The University of New Mexico. It's the state's flagship, a world-class university right here in Albuquerque. Apply for admission at UNM today at unm.edu. That's unm.edu. The University of New Mexico is the university for opportunity.
It's possible to turn peanut butter into diamonds. Peter Pan tried it with his buddy Skippy, but they couldn't do it in a jiff. Here's Mike Winters.
Shoot, we're getting to a point where, the next couple generations of people don't know what a yellow pages are here.
Payphone.
So, that's right. Yeah, payphone. What's that? You give a guy $1 to use your cell phone? No. A little different. Good morning. It is 21 minutes after 9 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning from the Roswell Independent School District, Superintendent Brian Luck back with us. Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
Good morning. It better be after 7 o'clock.
Did I say 8?
9.
I did say 9? Jeez, man, I'm way off. 7:21.
Some poor person's probably at home right now just frantically trying to get by.
I thought I was on the East Coast for a minute. Sorry about that.
For those of you listening on the East Coast today.
That's right. I nailed it.
Good morning.
How are you today, Brian?
We're great. We're great.
Good deal. So I'm curious. Super Bowl, were you happy with the outcome? Were you rooting for Niners, Chiefs? Did you care?
I didn't really care. I liked the fact that it was a good game, and it was.
It was that. It was competitive.
It seemed like it went late this year, and I don't know why.
Well, it was the overtime, so it kind of did drag it out a little longer than I think they anticipated it to.
No, it was fun.
Yeah.
We had in honor of that, we actually had a little 2-hour delay to go with it.
That's right.
Didn't get a lot of complaints about that.
That's right. And I've actually found out. I think I got the message from your people. Right about the start of the Super Bowl and everything.
Yeah, we planned it like that.
Yeah, so all right, get the word out. So, but yeah, and of course, and that's one of those things. Before we kind of get into the meeting, that I'm pretty sure you always want to err on the side of the caution, but it always seems like you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Decisions here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we want to make it. You're always going to get some people like, "Oh, school's fine. I went uphill both ways, snow and all that."
Oh yeah.
But the thing we got to remember is we live in southeast New Mexico, and yes, we don't get as much snow and ice as other parts of the country. That being said, we're also not prepared to handle snow and ice like other parts of the country. Right. We do not own big pyramids full of salt every couple hundred yards to go pick up. We don't have a plethora of plows on the standby to start hitting the arteries and all that the moment ice and snow starts forming. We don't have those type of amenities. So therefore, we have to let nature do some of that.
That's right.
And hence the 2-hour delay. and it makes sense because, I mean, yeah, the main roads were just fine, Monday morning. But if you're back in neighborhoods and places where buses have to go, it's a little bit hairy.
Our concern was that was such a wet snow.
Yeah.
And give or take, mid Sunday afternoon when it did finally start to melt, there was a ton of water everywhere. And too, like you said, we don't have that ability. I know I did see city trucks out salting.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they did because it sure did help out quite a bit. It was needed, but you're right. I mean, we have county roads and we have side streets and different places that didn't get a lot of traffic, and it was a little dicey. And we did coordinate with the bus company and ask them, like, hey, if we gave you a couple hours for your guys to not have to get to work until the sun comes up.
Would that be a good thing?
That way they can sort of see what they're fixing to attack as they dive down the road. And
I imagine you have to consult because they know all the logistics of what it takes to get those buses up and going every single morning.
Yep.
And so, their abilities factor in greatly on your decision.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then too, the other piece to that was just we knew it. I mean, it was 18 at my house when I got up that morning. And, we have some people that because mom and dad go to work or the distance where the kids have to get to the bus stops, we actually have kids standing at bus stops at, 6:45 in the morning, and that's cold.
It's,
and a lot of them aren't as fortunate, and their mom and dad have to go somewhere, so the kids are standing there. So, and again, we were pretty fortunate. We just did the two hour delay.
Sure. Rather err on the side of caution.
Yes, and community seemed to support it. So, and again, if we have a old-fashioned snow day anymore, those are virtual days. So the kids have assignments, teachers have responsibilities.
Those aren't quote-unquote lost days anymore.
No, and that factors in a lot. We're going to do everything we can because I don't think people quite realize how much goes on before 6 a.m. in our district with custodians and cafeteria.
Gee whiz curious, since we're on the topic here, now that they kind of have this more virtual thing, does that kind of change the criteria on whether you delay or not? Like if you're thinking, well, since we can go virtual learning, maybe we'll try a delay first or something. Does that change those variables a little bit? I was just curious.
It's interesting for me. Boy, we fought so hard to be back face to face.
Right.
And ironically, for me personally, it's almost the other way. Yes, we have the virtual option and we would still get stuff done, but I can't forget month after month of just sitting there wishing that we were face to face. So, again.
Well, and virtual is a great substitute, but it does not replace face to face. It just doesn't, it's not as effective.
And we're going to get more, obviously, out of the face to face. And so, obviously, that's. I go back to my predecessor, Mr. Gottlieb. We owe that to the people that are paying our salaries.
Absolutely.
To do everything you can to be face to face. It may be a little bit later. That didn't hurt anything. And it usually doesn't. But again, and had Sunday been Monday, we would have been a virtual day. That got a little dicey pretty quick right there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, Sunday, and all of us were kind of surprised a little bit. It's like, yeah, we might get, but we were like, whoa, this is like actual snow. We were just thinking like it'd snow for an hour and go away or something. Yeah.
I still got so tickled with the amount of texts and calls and different things that I was seeing about people. What do you think they're going to call school? This is like Sunday morning at like 8 o'clock, and I was like, boy, we are stretching here a little bit.
I was like, y'all new to New Mexico? We don't keep snow around very long.
No. And what's interesting, though, too, is, boy, we've still got it. Yeah. We've had some really pretty last couple of days.
It has.
But what a much-needed moisture for our town.
I'm hoping, I'm not a meteorologist, but I'm hoping this snow is a good soaking, and this definitely helps the moisture tables and things here for our part of the woods. So
a little winter wheat product right there. That'd be nice. Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, I did hear, overall as a state, we're pretty good as far as levels this year. They're saying there's good moisture in the mountains all around the state.
Good.
It might not be such a bad year after all on some of that stuff.
Fingers crossed.
Knock on wood. That's right. But that being said, if you're not aware, the school district had their monthly board meeting on Monday.
Yes, sir.
As they normally do now on Monday nights here. And I know it was a little bit special here in our little circle because for folks not familiar, each month a different school kind of kicks off the meetings with the pledge and everything, and the students come in, and it's usually really cute, and it's better with the younger kids because let's face it, we all ooh and ah over younger kids. Sorry, when you get to teenagers, you're just not as cute anymore. It just you know what? Sorry, teenagers. As you get older, you're going to be less cute. It just the older you get, people don't find you cute anymore. Sorry. Then when you get to our age, and we'll be the ones going ooh and ah. But anyway, I get back here. But every month we always have usually a different school, and they kind of do that. And of course, Sean's a proud papa. His son Hunter got to be a part of the group on Monday night here.
No, and that was so neat because and it's funny, behind the scenes as we get ready, we'll our head of our technology department always comes up and sets the microphone
to the proper level.
Sort of to the proper level. About 30 minutes before the meeting, he'll come in and he'll get it ready. And the other night, we just lowered it all the way that we could go. And there were still a couple of them that were having to look up to say their names. It's a neat deal. I mean, we fill up the boardroom when that happens. I mean, literally, we were standing room only for about 5 minutes when that happens. And it's customary. They say the pledge. We shake their hands or fist bump them, whatever we're going to do. And then whew, the room empties. And
yeah, that's it.
It's
I
funny.
would like to invite people to stick around for some more of it. There is some very good information that comes after that.
It is, but
I know everyone's got their lives.
A lot of those little ones, though, it kind of cracks me up because that's a lot to ask.
Sure, that's a couple hour meeting and the attention level and all. I get that, but maybe take the maybe one parent or somebody goes. If you do have the ability to stay for some of these, I highly recommend it.
Well, and I joke, at my admin meetings, I'll say, well, if you were one of the 5 that were watching online, and we'll all kind of chuckle, and then you can see them kind of going, were you one that was watching? And but
hey, maybe we can do shout outs and door prizes to get more people to.
Well, what I think is neat is they're there, and if you want to go back, if you did miss it. Or if you're like, what are they talking about?
Right.
We do have it on our website, and they are posted, and we're going to keep that. We talked about that. Was that a product of COVID, or is that just time?
Well, I would imagine it's even a useful tool for some of the other board members and administrative and staff, because I imagine there's moments where you're like, what discussed? And they can actually go back and see exactly, the wording or however it was presented.
We have had to go back multiple times and rewatch to make sure that the date was said correctly, or a question was asked,
right.
and you get busy doing something and then you realize, oh my goodness, I missed that. And so it's very handy, but too, I mean, it's a lot like with the ball games.
Mm-hmm.
It's where we're at. And it's a neat thing. It's a tool, and I can be in Portales Friday night for my daughter and my son's games, and I can watch the girls play here.
Yeah,
and not have to, it's free, and not have to worry about still kind of being able to be a part. I got my earphone in one ear and screaming at somebody else over here on the other side.
Brains in 4 places, but
only on game days can you do that. Only on game days.
So if you do hear the superintendent in the middle of a meeting go, yeah, you know exactly what happened.
I made a promise, and it's we've had a couple Tuesday meetings, and it's like even this year we had a Goddard Roswell night during a board meeting, and it was tough. It was open, but it was minimized on my screen, and like I said, I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
People are like gauging his mood on the game. He's like, oh, he must not be going well. He's kind of cranky.
No, this my daughter's playing varsity basketball this year. So her last year, and
but say you've got a vested, even a little bit more vested interest.
Well, and because of that though, I just can't, because I can't. My facial features. If we're doing a meeting, we're doing a meeting. So
I think you know what? I think on those nights you should be allowed to do the meeting at the gym.
No.
Nothing will get done, but you'll have good attendance.
They might not like us up in the top trying to pull that off. No.
Is that a whistle or is that a call to order?
That's exactly right. Was that a second? No, they. But back to the videoing of the meetings though. They're there and they're pretty useful and if
at the end of the day, it's the chronicling of history. Mm-hmm. This is and I'm guessing there will be times in the future where they got to go back and refer to precedent things, and they're going to be going through these very meetings and things to learn or establish that, or this is kind of the history, and like it, love it, or hate it, this is how history's recorded now,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the world we live in. So,
that's right.
Ideally, I kind of want to see 30, 40 years in the future, and they're back looking at these tapes, making references and thinking, this is how they did it back then. This is what we need. You know what I mean?
I do.
So I think yes, it's a useful tool for people today, but I also think it is for the next generation.
I agree.
As well, too.
I agree.
Well, that being said, there was a board meeting.
Yes,
and,
sir.
let's talk a little bit about some of the meat and potatoes of the meeting here.
I tell you what, if you plug here for Roswell Daily Record, if you can get a copy of today's Roswell Daily Record, there's a young lady on the front page named Serenity Chavez Ontiveros.
Okay.
And we recognized her for some of the work that she's done in the Horatio Alger Scholarship that she got, which is a $25,000 scholarship.
Nice.
I think she plans to, if I've got this right, maybe criminal justice here in New Mexico.
Okay.
And
so again, like law enforcement or
more like legal? I think it'd be more like legal. She
attorney world.
I tell you what, she this is her second time appearing on the front of the Roswell Daily Record, and I'm trying to remember the exact month that their first story appeared. She had an opportunity to just kind of come up a little bit and tell us her story, and I mean we were speechless, just amazed at the work she's doing. So, like I said, we're just trying to look at some different things in our recognitions and highlight. You know, like Mr. Edwards said, we always want to bring the bad, and you know, so much of our meetings a lot of times get focused on what's not right.
Sure.
And so when we have opportunities to celebrate like that, what a neat story. What a neat young lady, and she's got a bright future ahead of her.
It's an inspiration to people. You know,
yes.
It's because anytime you see someone, especially come from a place that they weren't dealt the best deck of cards, and they come and achieve and succeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inspiration. It's a reflection of our own selves. We look and say, well, if that person was able to do that, well, maybe I can do what I'm trying to do with my life. And so, to me, it's a motivation as much as it is. You know, yes, we want to celebrate this person, and you know what, you're awesome and you're an inspiration, and we want to use you as a beacon for others to be inspired to do the same kind of effort in whatever their goals are.
I want to say she plays like 3 sports, has 2 jobs, is involved in like 8 clubs, you know, and I'm sitting there going, man, I wish she'd apply herself, you know. But just a neat story. And that's, we actually moved that to a different spot in the board meeting so that we could make sure that we had some people there that wanted to do the presentation.
Devote
for her.
the proper attention it deserved.
Absolutely. We had some reports, some information items. Healthy Schools New Mexico. So Roswell was, I believe, the only school in New Mexico that received the grant at the level that we did. We have a crew that goes through our mid schools. So like our elementary schools first. So like the body mass index and the fitness challenge and the walking Wednesdays, and you know, we're really blessed with that. Paula Camp, Becky Joyce, now
Healthy Kids Chavez County.
Now Leisha Hillman jumps in on board with that, and we're able to do some really neat things. So had a chance for them to come up and, you know, kind of pump the program a little bit about the things that they're fixing to do there. Had an opportunity to meet with the New Mexico group a few months back, and just really touted the schools here in Roswell. PE teachers, elementary school PE teachers they're paramount in that. I mean, they've done a great job with that and really promoted it.
It's great, not because they really are on that whole side of you know, with Healthy Kids Chavez County. You know, not only are they working on the phys ed side, but the food service side and getting local stuff and local grow. You know, so I know not only are they working with Roswell schools, but Hagerman, Dexter, all the Chavez County, and really all the schools in the county are really doing some awesome stuff through that Healthy Kids program.
Well, like you mentioned how times changed. I want to say it was Pecos, might have been Nancy Lopez, where they grow their carrots.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids grow them, and then they take them over to the cafeteria. The cafeteria preps them, and takes them back, and the kids get a chance to eat them. And how, you know, 50 years ago, that was just kind of old hat. Kids knew what a garden was. And they grow it,
now it's like you got to realize what happens to your food before you pick it up at the grocery store.
Food comes from somewhere before the grocery store.
Or the McDonald's drive-thru.
Absolutely. Had a brief presentation by Mr. Kenneth Bewley on the Panorama Survey, which is put out by the state. The front page of the paper again, not for bad things, just, you know, we're transparent. I brought that up multiple times with not only this board, but boards of the past. And, you know, when we give out a survey, if I'm asking somebody to take their time to do it, we're going to look at the results, and whether they're good or bad, we'll bring them forward and present them and address the areas that we need to and tout the areas that we think we can champion and use that as a tool. That's what it is. I don't ever look at those as I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I know where I can be got.
Sure.
And we're trying really hard to fix those things. So we want to make sure that the public sees that, you did it, here it is, and we're going to work on those things.
It's and let's face it, like you're saying, being transparent and that's what it is. At the end of the day, we are all have an interest in the education of the people that live here, and because it all impact, we're all impacted together. Even if you don't have kids and things, at the end of the day, these are the people that are going to be your city leaders, your things, and you're going to make sure they have the best tools to do all this.
Absolutely.
And it starts with that foundation of an education. So, yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Look, we just want the best for every kid. And so, yeah, we needed the good, bad, the ugly to do that. And if we just touted everything we're doing right and focused on that, there would be a lot of wrong things that get enhanced and just brought to the forefront. And so, and I get it. Education is one of those polarizing, people are ready to go guns blazing if they get upset in this world. And that's where we try to avoid. Say, look, we're not coming from a place of just trying to do it wrong. We just got to learn and do it better. And sometimes problems don't arise until it's like sometimes you do something to solve something and then it creates another problem that you didn't realize until after the fact. And so you have to navigate through some of that stuff. And that's just called life and dealing with it. That's going to happen whether you're at a school board meeting or in your family's Christmas dinner. It's just going to do that.
I think it's interesting that you say that. That's probably been, since I went from being a teacher into administration, one of the hardest things, because if you're a problem solver, you want to solve them, and you immediately go to what you would think would be the quickest, easiest, best, and it's hard to think multi-dimensional as, okay, if we do this, how does this happen? And I know especially when I first started, I was always amazed at the people. I would say something and they would pop off with, well, if you do that, this will happen. And I think I'm like, how do you think like that?
Right.
What makes you think like that? And so over time, it's interesting because there are so many different ripple effects that come out of that. And two, I mean, you would think that providing a good education should be pretty basic. And so that's the one thing that we're trying to stick with is we have good curriculum, we have good teachers, and that's going to push us really far down the road as far as trying to avoid some of those pitfalls.
Absolutely. But that's the stuff that really, and that's when you get to the school board level and that level, that's kind of that's the job is to kind of, see those moments and address them and deal with them before they become a bigger problem or issue.
Well, I love the transparency with my board as well, too. I'm not just saying that because I'm on the radio, but we talk frequently, as far as, well, what about this or what about that? And we have a pretty open relationship where we can share different ideas. And I like that. I think that's going to be healthy for the town. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
The community elected those 5 individuals to serve as my superiors, and then they've given me the task of running the district, and that's a big responsibility. And,
Absolutely.
And I appreciate that they let us they've given us parameters, but they've also let us kind of bounce off a couple other sides a few times. So,
well, and I would imagine too, because your position as superintendent and the school board, it's a unique relationship because it's different than a traditional boss employee relationship here. Because at the end of the day, technically, yes, you're hired and you serve at the pleasure of the board, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
However, you almost have to listen to each other and give each other direction for it to work. There's times where you're directing the school board on something and vice versa here too. And that's just the nature of the position, because the school board isn't running day-to-day policy at the school level or even at the district level.
Correct.
I mean, their philosophy and budgeting and all of that, but when it comes to rules and the policy, that's all on Brian. Right. And so at the end of the day, they have to abide by Brian's policies and things. So it's a unique relationship than more than just the boss-employee relationship. So, yes, at the end of the day, they're your boss, but at the same time, they are as accountable as you are to make sure that the job gets done. And so it turns it into a collaborative more than boss-employee relationship.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I've talked to other superintendents that aren't as fortunate as I am. So, again, just, very happy that we're able to do what we do, and keep going forward with it.
Sure.
A couple other things that came up. We had some construction updates with our Mesa project, which is moving along great. We are a little behind schedule. I think the original contract had said that we would move in December. Was actually in part of the new building yesterday. They look like they're kind of wrapping up some fine pieces to that. So I envision
we're close.
We're getting close.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, we made it through COVID. We made it through product.
If anybody's ever had a construction or renovation project go on time, you're probably the first.
Well, I will say this. I'm extremely happy with the work that's been done and the product that's fixing to be unveiled over there. Whenever they get it all good and clean, we'll have a nice open house for people to go take a look at it.
Yeah,
it is. You cannot even tell that what we renovated from, I'm going to air quote, Old Mesa, you cannot even tell that that's the same building. So it's really neat looking.
I'm telling you, it's Brenda Elementary, and because my wife has taught there pretty much, her whole career there, and she started way back before the remodel and everything.
Yes, sir.
And I imagine, and I'll tell you, that school, if you walk in it today, looks nothing like it did when my wife first started there 20 plus years.
No, sir.
And they're getting the same treatment right now over there, and you're like, is this even the same school? So I know exactly what you're talking about when you say that, because I had that same experience at Brenda Elementary.
Well, and then we'll just continue that good vibe right behind it over to Nancy Lopez. Then from Nancy Lopez on out to Mountain View, and then Mountain View to Washington Avenue. So it laid out. Now, granted, I say that, and that's not next year, the year after. So, but we're looking at
a few years of projects on the road here, on the menu there.
It is. But once that gets done, I mean, we're gonna be in a neat spot as far as the district.
And that's kind of when it comes to maintenance, upkeep of anything, whether it's buildings, roads, whatever it is. It's kind of one of those deals that when you have a whole district of those things to do, you do it, but it's almost like you're on a clock, because you'll start renovating here and then you go around renovating everything around the district it needs to. And about the time you get done, it's time to start back from square one again and do a little upkeep and remodel and maintenance and stuff too. It's really a never-ending process.
It's interesting. So the way the state actually ranks the schools as far as their facilities, you don't want to be first. That's bad. First is bad.
Things got bad if you're first.
But the neat thing about that is then that's you're in a really good spot for some funds from the state. So Del Norte had actually hit number one. I think Mesa, if not one, was in the top 5. But we have buildings that have in my head I'm just like, we just redid those.
Right.
And they're like, no, Brian, that was almost 12 years ago that they redid those. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And as we get older, time gets shorter. And
Yes,
we're
it
like,
does.
That wasn't that long ago. And then we're like, oh, dang, that was a long time ago.
Exactly right.
Yeah, life does that to us sometimes.
Well, but I say that I've got a really good team that monitors that. And, we work with the state to leverage our funds the best we can. Excuse me. Roswell High has a new fire alarm that's going in because of that. We've had a lot of work done on roofs, different things in the district for that.
Plus, just because the way of the world we live in, every school has had to, as far as security and safety, they've been a lot of renovations to all of the schools.
Right.
In that department over the last 5-10 years as well, too.
Front offices.
So it's been a constant, really, construction project. It feels like at some of these schools just because of the world we live in and what needs to be done right now.
Well, it's pretty interesting. And I don't think I'm speaking ill of anything right now, but we met with the PSFA, Public School Finance Authority, and that was something that we brought up as we're building these buildings, you need a safety just like we have one. So as you're pricing out a building and we don't have a secure vestibule in the front, like what we need, that needs to come from y'all. That doesn't need to be an expense that we have to pick up.
Sure, because that's not a negotiable thing. That
No.
It's like that has to be there. Like the building needs windows.
Right. But I came from a place where there was no windows, so I mean,
well, but again, to the world. But that's the way the world is. And yes, 20 years ago, you just walk into school and go pick your kid up and go home. But unfortunately, we don't live in that world.
No.
You know what we also used to do at that time? People used to live and not lock their doors and everything. That doesn't happen anymore either. Times
I understand.
and life changes, and the schools have, they got to do what they got to do to protect your kids. And that's what they're doing.
It's interesting you say that, though. It has not taken as long as I thought, really, to kind of get our town acclimated as far as the doors are locked. Excuse me, plan ahead. So hats off to our community, and I can't thank enough that it didn't take a minute, kind of for that to happen, and everybody to kind of go, well, I might not like it, I might think it's this or it's that, I might throw a minor fit at the door, but we've been very
what
fortunate
happens
with
when
that this
something
year.
slips through the cracks? Are you going to be, I get it.
Yeah.
And trust me, my wife has dealt with some salty parents because they didn't, they were denied access to things that they felt they were, supposed to go into. But at the end of the day, and I'll tell you this, my wife, she's told me directly, when it comes to protecting your kids, she don't care what she's got to do or not do to let you in or out. Her priority is your child, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, every other teacher feels
That's
the
right.
same way. And sorry, you be mad at the teachers, but they are protecting your kids over anything you say at that moment.
Right.
That's just that's where their head's at. And
Oh, yeah.
you go through the proper channels, they'll let you right in. But you just try to roll up in there, no teacher will let you do that because guess what? This is where they live and work. This is their home as well. And they want to safe and protect your kids just as much. And so
Absolutely.
Please be understanding when a teacher gets a little bit more authoritative when you try to do something that they don't want you to do.
Right. Correct. And the interesting thing about that, we're not anywhere near like our assembly time. As we get down into the spring, we'll probably bring that back up as, awards assemblies and graduations and just, remember that, yes, that's your kiddo, but when they're with us, we like to take ownership of them just as
You've
much as you do.
given us a responsibility, and it is taken very seriously.
So we'll put that on the list for April, May. Real quick before we run out of time, oh my goodness. Roswell High Key Club met with some very nice young ladies the other night that are going to go to Tempe, Arizona on April the 5th through the 7th. So reminder, a lot of people don't know if students travel across state lines in our district, and I actually we're working on that policy to maybe expand it to more like a 500-mile radius.
Yeah, because a 3-hour trip to Texas shouldn't require a huge act of Congress to go anywhere. But
well, and I mean, as far as that goes, I remember where that came from, and I understand that, but we've opened up with our transportation options now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right, and what always used to crack me up is I couldn't go to Denver City for the the Tumbleweed Classic for band without going before the board, but I could drive to Shiprock, and so we
good to go.
So policy committee actually brought that one forward the other day, and they're like, "Do you really want to look at this?" So we're on that, but good luck to those young ladies going out there to Tempe, Arizona.
And that's a good time of year to be in Arizona. I'd rather be there in April than July.
I know that sounds neat trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had the Goddard and Roswell High School. It's a trip we started, probably about 10 years ago at the school level. Their anatomy classes, A&P classes that go over to Texas Tech. I think it's called like the Red Bag Experience or something like that.
Okay.
They, goodness gracious, they get on the bus at like 3:30 in the morning. They're sitting there in Lubbock at the Texas Tech campus, bright and early, ready to go at 7:30 Texas time.
Yeah, they lose that hour going back. Yeah,
and then they tour the campus. They look through the gross human anatomy lab. They talk to the medical school that's over there. They talk to kids that have done that. A very neat experience.
Absolutely.
Very well worth it. So it's funny when they would start that. Hey, we're going to start. We'll take the first 55 kids because they used to, usually put them on a big old charter bus, and there will be 65 kids waiting at the teacher's door when they get there that morning. It's a neat deal. It's a first come, first serve, but super excited about that. That would be, we have 2 dates, April 5th, April 8th. 2 other really neat grants that were awarded the other night, or that we approved the other night. Both Mesa Middle School and Mountain View Middle School were recipients of the Hispanic Education Art, Music, and Dance mini grants.
Oh, cool.
$15,000 for both schools to upgrade, to do anything that they want to with this in the area of dance, art, Hispanic education. Both sets of teachers came in. They laid out their plans for the kids, how they're going to do that. It's exciting. Mesa's is more of like an event type of a deal where the kids are going to come and perform. Mountain View had a little different spin for their project, but still, we were really excited about that. I mean, that's here's $30,000, split in half, and you take it and you do this and you do this, and so hats off to those teachers, because that was something that was driven, within the building level.
Yeah, that makes it even a little bit more special when it kind of comes from within.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Reminder to everybody that this Friday we have professional development.
All right.
So we're half day Friday for our teachers. Then they'll train in the afternoon. So dismissals, I believe, 12 o'clock.
Gotcha. The kids will go home early.
Kids will go home early, and then Monday is a President's Day Community Learning Day. Did remind everybody, all of our staff that's not, again, air quotes, a day off, that we actually have assignments within the community, different things. A lot of the schools have sent me the stuff that they're doing, activities that they have already completed and that the kids are going to take home and work on with their parents, as the day goes on, different events that are on TV, different things here in Roswell. So that is no students on campus Monday, the 19th. Our calendars getting pretty close to being ready to take that to the board. Again, it's 2 days earlier, 2 days later. Do you want 2 days at Thanksgiving? Do you want the full week at Thanksgiving? So we came up with basically 3 calendars that we're getting ready to take to the staff. And
they'll debate it out and find the one that everyone seems to be most happy with.
It's going to be interesting because there's really just basically 2 choices that have you finishing by Memorial Day. The third choice has you coming back after Memorial Day for that last week. And I don't know. We'll see if that's the calendar that people vote for. I go to work that week anyway. So,
right. It depends on vacation plans and everyone else.
I know.
That's what most people are going to be looking at and weighing in on that one.
But that gets to be their vote.
Exactly. That's like, you do the dealer. I'm out.
That's exactly right. The state has given us the same set of parameters as last year. 188 days of instruction, 193 for the staff. So not a lot of wiggle room.
Yes.
Not a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, it is. You're right. They're wedging and crowbarring and getting it in there. So, did we get it all?
I got it all.
Good deal.
I got all mine.
And like you said, of course, if you ever miss any of this stuff, go to the Roswell Independent School District website, and you can find this meeting and previous meetings there for you can go back and watch. Particularly if you had maybe your family members participate in a particular, you want to go back and watch it, Sean. It's there for you to check out. So.
And it was funny when he walked in. I wasn't expecting to see him there, so it took me a second, and then
I don't your face doesn't belong to where it is.
And then his agent came over and reminded me who he was.
Very good. Well, as always, appreciate the visit. Anything we can do or anything you need from us, please don't hesitate to holler. And
likewise.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
Don't work too hard.
That's the plan.
Excellent. All right, it is 7:58. All right, Jocelyn, pay attention. I'm going to do that commercial now. So we were talking about something else off air. That's my covert signal to tell her. It is 7:58. Time for your Chavez County Sports Report, brought to you by DSI.
Incumbent Artesia Municipal Court Judge Sarah Gallegos has announced that she will run for the job again. Gallegos has called Artesia home for the last 12 years. Before being appointed to the judgeship, she worked part-time for the Eddy County Clerk's sub-office. She was appointed judge after the previous judge announced a retirement in 2019. You're up to date. I'm Jared Sorello reporting.
It's time for the Chaves County Sports Report. Got some small school hoops going on tonight, Gateway Christian style. The Warriors will be playing host to Elida in a girls-boys doubleheader. Start with the girls, and Gateway Christian is 12-9 overall, 3-2 in district play after having beaten Floyd 47-24 on Tuesday. And then the guys follow suit. The Warriors are 2-3 in district play, and they defeated Floyd as well on the road on Tuesday, 49-43. Other scores from Tuesday: NMMI beat Dexter in boys hoops 60-44, and the girls won 33-20. It was Hagerman falling at Jow 51-34, and the Hagerman girls also lost to Jow on the road 57-46. The Sports Report brought to you by DSI. Call DSI for all your office technology needs. I'm Eric Butler at Roswell's Talk FM 106.5.
All across America, this is the Lou Dobbs Business Report.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Stocks losing, inflation sparking a sell-off. January's CPI report sparking yesterday's market sell-off. All three major indexes down sharply. The Dow Jones Industrial shed more than 500 points. Technology losses dragged the NASDAQ and the broader market lower. Hopes of a late spring interest rate cut dashed by the latest inflation update. Cisco earnings today. The cyber network company plans on laying off thousands of employees. Cisco says the move is to shift its focus on growth areas. The stock's down more than 2% since the first of the year. The Kraft Heinz company reporting after the opening bell. Revenue expected down about $500 million in the third quarter. Back in November, the board approved a stock buyback worth up to $3 billion. Microsoft mixed reviews after the first run of its AI companion Copilot using the same technology OpenAI and ChatGPT use. The program's practicality in question after several employee trials. Microsoft Copilot available for a $30 monthly subscription. Please join me twice each weekday for the Lou Dobbs Business Report right here.
Business news you need to know. Keep listening for more. This is the Lou Dobbs Business Report.
Companies in the United States are 10 times more likely to be a victim of a cyber attack. Manufacturing, healthcare, retail, financial services, the leading targets. Ericsson's Cyber Z Suite provides the protection you need before your data gets stolen, bank accounts get drained, and operations are at a standstill. Call Ericsson today to schedule a no-obligation consultation. That's 908-878-7717. Ericson, ERACENT.com. 908-878-7717.
Your home for Kim Commando in Roswell. 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM, KEND, Roswell, New Mexico.
And we're closing in on 9 o'clock. Stay tuned next hour. About 9:15 or so, we'll have the folks from the District Attorney's Office join us, give us an update on what's happening over there. Town Hall News is coming up next. We'll be back on the other side of news. Don't go away. You're listening to 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM, KEND, Roswell, New Mexico. We'll be back on the other side of news. Thanks for sticking around.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Former President Trump's first criminal trial is on track to begin late next month.
A New York judge announced that Trump's hush money trial will go ahead as scheduled, with jury selection starting on March 25th. With the decision, the judge turned aside requests for a delay from the former president's defense lawyers. Trump's attorneys blasted the decision to keep the March date, complaining that he will have to stand trial in New York during the presidential primary season. Trump, who is in the Manhattan courtroom, is accused of falsifying business records in a hush money case. Greg Clugston, Washington.
All was well at yesterday's big Super Bowl victory celebration in Kansas City. Then shots rang out.
Kansas City's fire chief says 22 people were shot when gunfire erupted at the end of the Chiefs' Super Bowl parade. Stephanie Meyer at Children's Mercy Kansas City says they treated a dozen patients.
11 of which are children with 9 gunshot wounds.
Those children between the ages of 6 and 15.
All of those patients we expect to have a full recovery, none of which are in critical condition.
As for their emotional state,
fear.
That sound courtesy KMBC. Radio station KKFI says its DJ Lisa Lopez Galvan was killed in the shooting. I'm Ben Thomas.
There's all manner of speculation about some kind of serious national security threat, first mentioned yesterday by Congressman Mike Turner, chair of the House Intelligence Committee. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says he'll be talking about it today with senior congressional intel officials. House Speaker Mike Johnson saying the House not about to be rushed into approving another $60 billion for Ukraine, and thousands of rail commuters were left stranded around Boston this morning. Power outages hit several lines of the beleaguered transit service. The Dow up 173, the NASDAQ down 32 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with the best price. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 866-755-5300. That's 866-755-5300. Again, that's 866-755-5300. Call us right now.
Despite all of the aid sent its way, including tens of billions of dollars from the U.S., Ukraine says it still needs more.
Ukrainian forces on the ground say they are running short of ammunition. The U.S. Senate recently approved a new military aid package worth $60 billion. NATO Secretary General said he now expected the U.S. House of Representatives to approve that support. But that's far from guaranteed. NATO defense ministers in Brussels are discussing ramping up weapons production and military support for Ukraine, but Europe's defense industry is not able to match the production rates of the U.S.
The BBC's Jonathan Beale. South Korea's presidential office claims the country's move to establish diplomatic relations with Cuba will deal a political and psychological blow to North Korea. South Korea's foreign ministry says it's agreed to open ambassador-level relations with Havana. News and analysis, townhall.com. Some Jeffrey Epstein victims are suing the U.S. government.
A dozen victims filed a lawsuit on Wednesday accusing the FBI of allowing and enabling Epstein's sex trafficking for over 2 decades. The victims allege the FBI received credible information about Epstein's trafficking operations as far back as 1996, but did nothing. The lawsuit argues that the FBI continued to ignore tips until Epstein was arrested on sex trafficking charges in 2019. Tasha Stevens reporting.
A trial is beginning today in North Dakota's years-old lawsuit seeking $38 million from the federal government for policing protests of the Dakota Access Pipeline in 2016 and 2017. The state filed the lawsuit back in 2019, but it was followed by years of legal wrangling before the judge set the trial date in December. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The travel listen, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Welcome to hour number 3 of Mornings with Mike Winters, right here on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM. Happy, oh so happy.
Yes, indeed.
Hope it's a swell day for you. Weather's pretty nice right now.
Yeah.
Maybe upper 60s, pushing 70.
One quick day, a dip in the temperatures on Saturday.
Yeah, that is weird. That's like I'm guessing there's wind, but they really don't even talk about wind. But usually when something like that happens, it precedes a wind event.
Some type of wandering wind.
Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is there. But yeah, it's literally one day. It's like upper 60s pushing 70 today, tomorrow. Saturday we drop down to like 45, 46. And then we're back up in the mid 60s by Sunday, and then like Monday we're in the 70s. We're like near 80 by Tuesday.
You know what it is? It's like in The Mighty Boosh. That's that British little short-lived TV series.
Yeah.
There's a song called Jack It On.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of it. Jack it on, jack it off, jack it on, jack it off, jack it. That's basically what we're going through right now.
Yep, pretty much. So enjoy it or not. I mean, you do. It's going to happen one way or the other.
Yes, indeed.
Playing accordingly. At least you got some snow for a day or two.
Yeah, it was nice. It was that wet packing snow too. Although what's really funny, I noticed this yesterday as I was kind of driving around. It's really fun to build a snowman. I get that. It's a great bonding activity for your family.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. Sad reality is you're going to watch that thing become the saddest part of your yard.
It's true.
In about a day and a half. It goes from haha to I don't want to be here anymore.
Well,
I think I'm done with existence.
That's when we practice our tackling moves.
That's right. That's when you break out the old Louisville Slugger.
That was the fun part, was, destroying the melted remains of it. Ours was wrestling moves. We practiced.
Right. Well, that's all fine and good and everything until you realize, this also ruined my yard, so this is a mud pit too.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. But, I don't have a yard anymore, so I don't have to worry about these things.
And the other funny part was, like, as I was driving kind of around the less occupied areas of Roswell, where there's just kind of like stretches of desert, there's still like little patches of snow all over there. There's untouched virgin snow. It's quite nice.
Very good.
But I will say the playgrounds, all the parks, they got pretty wrecked, so it looks like kids actually did get out and do some playing.
Good.
Yep.
Well, that's the whole point.
That's right.
Like, I when I was a youth, I, snow day or day of snow, there was always like 12 kids in various yards building either snow forts or building what I like to call a snowball fight arena, which was kind of, I think of a la American Gladiators, where you had remember the game where they shoot the tennis balls at you? And you gotta hide.
Every one of your
stations
stations had like a different crossbow.
Yeah, we kind of something a la like that. Except for it was a series of tunnels and walls to kind of like a paintball arena would be today. If you do that. And then we built those, and then we beat the snot out of each other with snowballs.
Well, we had a moment of realization during the whole thing, because my son was obsessed. He wanted to be out in it and like playing with it and touching it as much as possible. And we came to the realization, this is the first real good play in the snow we've had since he's been alive, since he's been on this planet.
Since he's been alive?
Yeah. So
man.
All of a sudden we're like, his sense of snow has been activated.
Yeah. Well,
so now we got to get to the mountains.
Have to move to a cold place.
So I say all this to say we're going to the Appalachian Mountains. We're heading east.
We're getting into the ginseng industry.
That's
we're going
right.
to start digging ginseng in the woods of West Virginia, so the kid can play in the snow.
Now that you have access to Peacock, I recommend watching a show called Killing It.
Okay.
It stars Craig Robinson.
Okay.
And
I think I've seen a trailer for this.
It's essentially, this guy is trying to figure out a way to, make it. And he determines through research that saw palmetto berries are the wave of the future in men's health. So he's trying to open a saw palmetto berry farm in Florida.
Okay.
There's only a certain area of rural Florida you can grow saw palmetto berries.
Okay.
And so he's trying to start a farm in this area of Florida, but he doesn't have the money. So to get the money, he becomes a snake assassin. Because down there, they basically will pay you for each.
So he's like an exterminator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they have a bad snake problem down there. So for each snake that you bag and take in, they'll pay you a certain amount of money. So he basically becomes a snake assassin to get the money for his saw palmetto berries.
Nice.
And hilarity ensues.
Nice. Okay, I'll check it out.
Definitely worth it.
I like
a
Craig
watch.
Robinson. He's pretty funny. Most of the movies and shows I've seen him in.
And he's
Gives me a
sort of the
chuckle.
straight man in this
Is
series.
he?
So yeah.
Okay. Well, he kind of plays that role. Like he's the funny guy, but he's not like the yuck guy.
Right.
He's the guy that comes in, hits you from left field, and walks out. Kind of move. That's his. That's
Still to this day, my favorite.
No one out pizzas his hut.
That's
is what
right.
I'm saying.
That's throwback. My favorite role of his was in the movie The Goods. He plays a DJ named DJ Request.
I remember it. Yeah.
And DJ Request refused to play anything or what anybody else asked for.
That's a good
Nobody
money.
tells DJ Request what to play.
If you're looking for a good movie that's just dumb but good, The Goods is a good one.
That's a great one.
What's his name? Guy
Jeremy
from Entourage.
Piven.
Jeremy Piven.
Yep.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his
Jeremy
name.
Piven. Will Ferrell's in it for a quick minute. Kim
Yeah.
Jong's in it.
It's a Piven joint.
It really is. Just don't ask about Kirky because we don't talk about Kirky.
Yeah. Put it this way. I find it as a more modern version of the Robin Williams movie. Was it Used Cars? I think it was what it's called. Where he's a used car salesman.
I don't recall that one.
Oh, it's I think late 70s.
Okay.
And it's Robin Williams. I'm going to say it's around Mork and Mindy time. I think it was called Used Cars, and he's like a used car salesman, and it's basically The Goods. But
Right. I will say this: that The Goods is the only movie I've ever Cadillac Man.
Cadillac Man, that's it.
I've
That's
heard
what
of
it's called.
Cadillac Man.
Cadillac Man. Used Cars.
The Goods is the only movie I've ever actually liked Jeremy Piven in. I've hated
love
every single thing, including Entourage.
I
I've
love
hated
Entourage.
everything he's ever done.
I love Entourage, not because of Jeremy Piven, but he doesn't detract from it for
Right.
me. I just love that show because it's a half hour of fantasy. I mean, it's you go live the lives of these kids that you all of you think you have more talent than, but they're like driving Bugattis and
Maybe I need to give it another chance because the few times I've tried to watch it, I was by myself.
And I just love the scenarios that they get. Johnny Drama makes that show. Like Johnny, the character Kevin Dillon, Johnny Drama, he's the best part of that show because he's the guy that does the awkward when everyone knows you're not supposed to do the awkward.
Oh, so me. Got it. Right. Can't read the room.
And he's like a guy, and he plays a character he was on a show that was a hit in the 80s called Viking Quest, but he hasn't had a really acting gig in a long time, so he's kind of riding the coattails of his younger brother, who's now
The hot-
heartthrob superstar, A-list actor, doing Aquaman, doing all, what's his name? Cartel, Escobar.
Oh, okay.
He plays Escobar.
Oh,
in the
that's
movie,
right.
yeah.
He did do a Pablo Escobar thing.
But that's the part that makes it, and there's like 6 or 7 seasons, so it gets, and they're quick and easy and funny, adult, not for the kids,
Now-
the kids, but they're every one of them. It's a fun ride.
So here's the funny part about it though. The character of Ari Gold,
Yes.
the Jeremy Piven character, is actually, and I know it's a very, very it's a big stretch from reality, but
Yeah.
it's a loose version of Ari Emanuel, the guy who runs one of the bigger talent agencies in the
Okay.
country, and also now runs the TKO Group Holdings, the ones that own UFC and all them.
And Pippen plays like that over the top, like he's the guy
Agent to the stars.
that'll throw the hand grenade in the room and walk out kind of character. He's that guy. So it's a good series. I every once in a great long while, if there's nothing on TV, I'm like, yeah, I'll watch a couple episodes of Entourage. It's good.
That's sort of how I feel about Curb. It's like I'm not going
Yeah.
to sit down and watch the whole series, but for Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's like if I'm ever in a rut of shows, I can watch a couple episodes of that and be good.
The first
Californication.
Yeah, that's a good one, too.
That's another one. Yeah. Oh, wrong button. I get that way with Curb too, because I watched the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons pretty regular. But then it just, as they got 10 years between seasons, I just lost touch. And I haven't watched an episode of Curb in probably 6-8 years.
One thing about the stuff that I watch is if a show or a movie makes me feel awkward, too awkward, I get very uncomfortable.
Curb is one of those shows.
Curb is one of those. I have a really hard time making it through the movie Step Brothers.
Well, what about Seinfeld? Because Seinfeld's very much the same
I was
awkward situation.
I turned into my father watching Fox News. I'm screaming at my TV, "Don't do that, you idiot!"
Yeah.
Like I turned into my father at that point.
Which, by the way, young people, Larry David's one of the creators of Seinfeld, so that's why they're very similar in vein. Yes, it's Seinfeld's head, but Larry David did a lot of polishing there. Our guest is here, so I guess we should probably wrap up our discussion of Entourage and breaking TV shows like that.
Hey, we're your source for early 2000s TV news.
You check out this show, MASH. It's pretty good.
You guys watch this Mork and Mindy? It's got Mork and Mindy.
Green Acres. Just saw it. It's amazing. Very good. But Hunter's here from the DA's office, so we're going to have a chit-chat with Deputy DA Hunter Spindle here in just a few. Before we do that, let's get you up to date on the weather, which, by the way, my weather's still not working, but I got a workaround, so we're going to fix that. So here's your weather.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. Pretty nice over the next couple of days. A little bit of cloud cover occasionally, but we will get plenty of sunshine as well. Afternoon highs going up to about 70. Some clouds drifting through for the overnight hours. Will be in the upper 30s, and then we get lots of sunshine on Friday with mid to upper 60s. The weekend looks fair and mild. We'll be in the mid to upper 60s. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Never mind, my fix is not working anymore. I went to see what's going on is I go to the weather service, weather.gov, and it gives me it ain't working. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe it's our internet. So I got off our internet on my iPad and it worked. But then I went to just now refresh it and it ain't working. So it's going to be like 69 today. And sunny. Tomorrow's another one where it's going to be upper 60s. Saturday, we're going to be dropping into the 40s and sunny. And then we're back up into the mid-60s, sunny on Sunday. And then we're in the 70s Monday and pushing 80 on Tuesday. So that's basically what they were going to tell me had the internet been working at that particular moment. All right, it is 9:18. We're going to take a 2.5-minute commercial break. And then we'll talk to Hunter Spindle on the other side. Don't go away.
Being called a fox in your marriage might not always be a good thing. Hi, this is Pastor Troy and my wife, Miss Julie, for the Joy of Marriage.
In Song of Solomon, it says, "Catch all the foxes, those little foxes, before they ruin the vineyard of love." I looked up the word fox, and it means cunning, achieving one's goal by deceit or evasion. A female fox is a vixen, which is spiteful or a combative woman.
Those little things we do to try to get our way can ruin our marriages. Try just being honest and talking through the situation. Do what's best for your marriage, not just for yourself. When Julie and I learned to choose to do what's right instead of trying to be right, our marriage turned around. You will find marriage is so much better when we work together.
If you have any questions or would like further information about the Joy of Marriage Ministry, please go to jomconference.com.
At Artesia General Hospital, our board-certified podiatrists are committed to providing personalized care in a welcoming environment. Dr. Jennifer Chow and Dr. Michael Krupa offer the latest surgical techniques and treat a range of conditions including arthritis, bunions, joint care, and more. If you're suffering from foot, ankle, or lower leg pain, we can help. Visit artesiageneral.com/foot care to request an appointment and begin your journey toward happier, healthier feet.
Hi, this is Melanie from Glenn's Furniture, and I want to tell you about our store-wide sale happening now. All items in every department are on sale. Upgrade your living space with power reclining sofas and love seats or beautiful sectionals with charging ports. Create ambience with amazing table and floor lamps. Get that long-awaited restful night's sleep with the new Serta mattress. Every department is on sale from our existing prices. So come down to Glenn's Furniture on the corner of Union and Alameda, where delivery is free since 1953.
Get your tickets now for Red Zone Presents A Night with Jason Witten, coming to Artesia Saturday, April 13th. Jason Witten is an 11-time Pro Bowl selection and 2-time NFL All-Pro with the Dallas Cowboys and is currently head coach at Liberty Christian High School in Argyle, Texas. Jason is one of sports' top leaders on and off the field. Tickets are free, but you must have a ticket to enter. To get your free tickets, contact the Artesia Chamber of Commerce. This invitation courtesy of H.F. Sinclair. Excited about Jason Witten coming to Artesia.
If you suffer from pogonophobia, you would not want to attend a party with the following people: Kenny Rogers, Santa Claus, Willie Nelson, the cast of Duck Dynasty, and 2/3 of ZZ Top. Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 21 minutes after 9 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning from the District Attorney's Office, Deputy DA Hunter Spindle back with us. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing great. How about yourself? How's life at the office this morning?
Busy.
Busy.
As always, I guess, though. That's how it goes.
I'm kind of curious because I was talking actually on Monday. I don't know if you know Matt Bristol, but he comes on once a month to talk legal. He's an attorney.
Okay,
but
anyway, the name rings a bell, but I can't put a face to it.
He's an attorney. But
okay.
But anyway, we were talking. He was on the show Monday. Of course, Monday we had the 2-hour delay because of all the weather and all that. And he was kind of telling me, how that kind of puts a big kind of just complete mark in the schedule because it kind of messes up things. I'm kind of curious from your perspective, from the DA's office, when you have those delays, does that just, well, you can throw today out the window. It's not, nothing's going to go right today, or is there? It's not that unwheel. I'm just kind of curious because I got a feeling it might.
I would rather have the day off. I'd rather court say we're going to close it than me go 2 hours behind.
Right.
Because, so on Mondays we have the arraignment docket.
Okay.
That is supposed to.
So that's kind of a busy day anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
We typically have court all day.
I gotcha.
So on Mondays we have the arraignment docket, and it cycles through the judges every week. So a different judge has it every week, and it starts at 9 a.m.
Okay.
So the different judges will put all the arraignments from every judge. So one judge will do it for every judge that has a new case come up that they're assigned to. But then that judge will typically also have pre-trials or statuses set on that date as well, because they have it's another day for them in court. So they're like, we're going to stick stuff there. Sometimes you'll have change of pleas. Well, because of the 2-hour delay, which it typically starts at 9 a.m., we didn't start until 10 a.m., but so that means our arraignment docket that typically ends right at noon went well past noon.
Yeah, everything gets pushed back because everything started late.
Right.
And you got to get the work in regardless.
Right.
And I don't know, can the judge streamline that a little bit with some of his, is there ways to kind of speed that process up, or no, you got to go because it's the law and you got to go through the motion?
It depends on the judge. Some judges are typically quick moving, and then you have some others who are very slow and kind of run at their own speed, and they're like, you're on my time. And
sure, they're a little more methodical, I guess you could say.
Well, I don't even know if methodical. They just take a while to make their own decision, to make their decisions, or to do what they need to get done.
Their process is a little different than
right. And then, some are like, yep, quick, and you can get through a docket in an hour or two.
Sure. Well, I imagine the judge is looking the same thing. They're looking at the docket and things like, it's like, all right, we can kind of, let's cut out some of the fluff on this one, and we can speed this one up a little bit here and do all that. Yeah, hopefully. But,
hopefully.
It's people are, judges, attorneys, they're all human beings too, and they are subject to the same idiosyncrasies all human beings are.
Right. And because of the weather on Monday, we also had the added effect that the jail did not have internet. Went out.
And you guys live or die by the internet. So
that was not good. So
I imagine a lot of court can't even be held in some cases without internet because you do a lot of this.
Everything's over video unless you're in essentially a trial, and then a decent amount of pleas have to be in person. But typically,
just getting your opinion on that is because they're doing that, and there's good and there's pros and cons to everything when a policy is in place. But for you in your office, having more, from a law enforcement perspective, they look at it as like, look, the less we move our inmates, the safer public is. Keeping them in one place, because whenever you're transporting, that's where the potential leaks in the wall here are where they could do something. So from their perspective, they're like, the video, we keep them in the jail, therefore there's less chance of chicanery going on here. But from your perspective as an attorney, does it make a difference positively or negatively there, or you know what, it's really business as usual? There really isn't much difference for us.
I have two ways of feeling about it. There's very positive things about it. There are some negatives about it.
Gotcha.
Of course, when I started practicing, everything was in person. So everything was done in person. And then we went to the videos because of COVID and all of that. And that allowed people to work from home, and the courts have kept it, and the Supreme Court here particularly has kept it for pretrials in status cases, arraignments, that sort of thing, because they saw the effect of having more defendants show up and not get bench warrants because they're on video.
Gotcha.
So
maybe that side is boosted a little bit.
That's helped with people not having nearly as many warrants issued against them.
Gotcha.
Which in turn I know helps the sheriff's office and whatever.
Cuts down on the caseloads and everything else too.
It can keep cases moving.
Right.
Sometimes it actually adds to the caseloads because it keeps, where something is in warrant status, they may be in warrant status for a couple months. I don't have to worry about that case maybe right now.
But then there's at least not additional charges that now you've got to do a whole nother case on.
Right. The negative, of course, is like for prelims, at preliminary hearings, it used to be that we could meet with each other, meet with the officer, the defendant's there with
kind
his
of powwow
attorney.
a little bit.
Yeah, we could have a meeting right before and be like, hey, our victim's here. We have witnesses. We got it.
Yeah.
Let's come to a resolution, and if we agree on something, you waive.
So maybe even avoid trial altogether because guys can, hey, let's sit here before we get in front of the judge.
Right.
And we can figure this out. Then we present it to the judge, and easy peasy, we're out of here.
Right. So it's like, hey, you do this, you agree to this, you waive it. We'll waive the prelim, we go up, and now we're settling the case easier without having to be this rigmarole for a month or a year or two, trying to come and get a resolution to the case.
And that's good for all parties. I mean, obviously from your perspective, you don't want cases sitting open for this long. You want resolution. You want some kind of conclusion for the victims on these things.
Oh yeah, and we hear it all the time. Some victims and witnesses. Well, this happened 2 years ago. I know, and we try to resolve cases as soon as we can, but there are many times there's evidentiary factors, discovery factors that play into that.
Sure.
Whether we're missing something or if we can't find a witness or whatever. But you also have it to where, and I hate to say it, sometimes defense attorneys kind of kick the can down the road, thinking that they would get a better deal the longer.
Well, and
longer
I'm
it goes.
going to guess, and again, this is generalizations, not specifics here, but I'm going to guess generally the longer a case goes, the better for the defense that is.
Sometimes.
And the reason I say or hypothesize that is basically because, time, people's thoughts, people's opinions, people's memories change over time.
Right.
Things get a little faded. Emotion fades a little bit. People that were hot and ready to convict and prosecute when it was closer to the incident may be soured on that a little bit 1 or 2 years down the road, especially if it's an intimate case where we're dealing with family members, close personal connections, spouses, loved ones. Anytime you're dealing with that, I imagine the longer it goes, the more difficult for you as a prosecutor it is to get a positive outcome for your victim.
Right. And typically if it can go quick, it's a better result.
Sure.
We normally have better buy-in with the witnesses and the victims. They're typically at the beginning more gung-ho about prosecuting a case, and the further it goes down the line, somehow, even though they're not supposed to have contact maybe with the defendant, they have rekindled.
Life happens, and we live in Roswell, New Mexico, or Hobbs, New Mexico, and we're all small towns, and everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. You have family influencing other people in the family and be like, hey, he didn't mean to, and that happens. But it's also one of those. It's one of those rubs, of course, that you have different sets of attorneys who care about different things, right?
Makes sense.
So as prosecutors, our intent is to try to seek justice for the case, the best outcome for the victim, that sort of thing. The public defenders, of course, are doing what they feel is best for them, and they don't have to worry about particularly money issue as the side. They're state employees; they get paid by the state. It could go quick, it could go long, doesn't matter to them.
It doesn't change their day,
right? Whereas in like a private counsel, he wants to kind of push it along because
it's costing them money.
Because it's costing them money.
Yeah,
makes sense. Whereas in a conflict counsel, which is someone who can't be represented by the public defender's office. They have a contract with the public defender's office to represent a defendant. The difference with them is they only get paid a certain amount of money per charge.
Gotcha.
And I don't remember what the specifics are for how much it is, but it's not a lot by any means. So for a lot of them, sometimes it behooves them to resolve a case quicker because that means they have less court appearances that they have to do for this one defendant.
It makes sense, yeah. And so it's kind of really the logistics of some of the parties really is a bigger impact on how quickly or how slowly sometimes will go a case will go.
Right. And that can be both frustrating to prosecutors, it can be frustrating to defendants, to victims, to witnesses, and really to judges.
Sure. and you're right, it is, but part of it too, that's the way the system has to be for the transparency side of things.
Right.
Because especially if we're dealing with, capital murder or something where someone's going to be spending a long time behind bars, you want to get it right. And
right.
So it's sometimes a necessary evil to, even though we all look and it smells, talks, walks, acts like a duck, we need to confirm it's a duck before we treat it as a duck.
And a lot of times with homicides, I mean, homicides particularly most of the time don't go to trial, but if you get one to go to trial in a year, that's quick.
Okay.
Typically, it's a year and a half to 2. But then we have some older ones too. But
yeah, and really, that's kind of the crux of what and when we talk about in New Mexico and a lot of other states dealing with the same issue, is that's the biggest problem courts are dealing with is the caseload, the backlog, and in some cases, having enough judges to serve in these districts and things like that. So that's another variable in that, But that's kind of, we need more, just physical manpower in the legal system. We need more judges and attorneys and more folks there. But then we also, like we said, maybe part of that too is streamlining, finding ways through the legislature to streamline some of the way we handle some of our criminal cases and things where maybe it gives you as prosecutors the tools you need to do it, but at the same time doesn't sacrifice the true intent of what we're trying to do here is determine innocence or guilt.
Right.
And that's it's easy for us to sit in a room and talk about that thing, but really it's kind of that's one of these cogs in the big, why is the judicial system such an well, it's because there's transparency involved and you got to get it right. And yes, it doesn't always get right. You hear the stories. There's probably 50 Netflix specials on when they didn't get it right.
Right. And sometimes even when you do get it right, you'll get on one, but
yeah, exactly. but
because people disagree with you.
But that's it's because it's the process. It's the thing. And yes, as outsiders watching, sometimes it's frustrating to see. But I will tell you this: if you are the victim or you are the accused, and you want your day in court, you're going to want to make sure all of these things are in place to give you a fair chance, or get your prosecution that you're trying to get.
And before I was a prosecutor, and I don't know if we've talked about this prior, but I was a defense attorney before I was a prosecutor. I mean, I've done every gambit of the law.
You know both sides.
Oh,
of the
I
table.
know. Yeah, I know. And before that, I was a magistrate. Now in Virginia, magistrates are a little different. They're not judges. They're just considered magistrates.
They got a busier caseload in Virginia than they do here in Roswell.
Yeah, basically. And I had an office in a jail. Signing search warrants.
You're probably in a suburb of D.C., so it's a lot busier hustle.
Right.
Flow.
But so I did that, and then I was a defense attorney and a public defender, so I've run the gambit before.
You've seen from every angle, basically.
Right. And so that with that knowledge and experience, I always try to look at every case as did the police do their job constitutionally, right? Because as part of my job, I have to protect the defendant too.
Absolutely.
And people, and sometimes it's hard for people to understand.
Protect the Constitution, because
Correct.
that's exactly
That's
what
my
you're
oath.
doing. Yeah,
that was an oath that I took when I took office.
Yeah.
Is that as part of it, I have to look at, did law enforcement do their job?
Right.
Was the Constitution, both of New Mexico and of the United States Constitution, was that followed according to case law, according to
Did the
statutes?
government do its job
Yeah,
properly?
Right.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you don't know that at the onset. You don't see it when we get a criminal complaint
Sometimes
stage,
the
that
devil
sort of
knows
thing.
details turn up under
Right.
rocks sometimes.
Right. and of course, my job with that and being able to analyze that, we live in the minutia. A lot of people, and especially what you see in the media and news, is the very high level, 1,000-foot view of a case.
Right.
Where you report on this person. This person is charged with a murder. They're immediately guilty in the eyes of the in the eyes of social media.
Sure. Well,
and
the
of
news,
the news
story spun it any way that to steer you that
right.
direction. Yeah.
Realistically, and I don't want to say this for everyone because I don't want to, impugn on anything.
Sure.
But there's a reason people are charged, right? You have the probable cause. If it doesn't meet probable cause, we don't go forward with it.
Sure.
And then of course, if the judge doesn't find probable cause, then it gets kicked. Now, reasonable minds can differ on what is probable cause, right? But realistically, if I look at a case and I'm like, I can't even charge this.
Sure.
It's dead right there.
Gotcha.
That we have cases that law enforcement has brought to us that are several years old that, we're still trying to find evidence on. I'm like, nope, I can't charge this person. I can't sign off on it.
Gotcha.
Because I can't find that linchpin.
Right. It makes sense. It does make sense. Yeah. This kind of spawned another question related, but in a different direction. When it comes to the term grand jury.
Okay.
How does a person or a case qualify to be brought before a grand jury before the lack of a better term, traditional trial process here? I mean, when you hear like some of these big cases, like it's going before the grand jury, Donald Trump stuff, all this, like what warrants it to be seen before a grand jury before, like, is there a certain circumstance or does everyone do it? We just don't hear about it. I'm a little muddy on how that works.
So grand jury process is used, at least in New Mexico, primarily in the federal court system.
Okay.
Grand juries really aren't used in New Mexico.
Okay.
They're expensive.
Gotcha.
Your bigger jurisdictions, Bernalillo, Santa Fe, Las Cruces, they much more do grand juries than we do.
Okay.
I think the last grand jury that was here was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Something like that.
So it's pretty rare in New Mexico for that to happen.
Right.
It's probably a very public case if it does.
That or something really involved. I think the last one that they did it, if I remember correctly, was like multiple counts of embezzlement against multiple defendants,
Okay.
And so how that happens here is we have to basically ask for a grand jury from the court system.
Okay.
And then the chief judge has to approve us pulling in a grand jury.
Okay. Now, what would be the benefit to request one? Like, what's like adding that extra process? How does that benefit the system? I guess that's the part I don't quite connect.
So a grand jury is a closed door proceeding.
Okay.
No one can really know about it. The grand jury is typically done for a set amount of time. They'll sit there for either a month or 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is under the code. I can't remember. And essentially you can come in and the prosecutor will call a witness.
Okay.
There's no judge. The judge is involved, but essentially what he does with the grand jury is he swears them in.
Okay.
He gives them their oath. They go to a back door, and then he's not involved anymore.
Gotcha.
That's essentially it.
Okay.
And so the prosecutor would go in there, introduce a witness, and have the witness testify to a grand jury about the case. And the benefit of that is there's no judge, so the rules of evidence don't apply.
Okay. So you really get to find out information with the luxury of not having some of the rules and procedures of a typical trial.
And there's no defense attorney
to get in the way there.
Right.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Because it's prior to the charging documentation.
Makes sense.
So there's no defense attorney there. There's no defendant. that sort of thing. It's
Gotcha.
just the prosecutor introducing a witness,
Going over the notes.
going
Same.
over notes.
Yeah,
right.
I gotcha.
Primarily, and it's a lot of it is the ability is to use like pure hearsay
Okay.
and go about it that way, to
So-
where I can have the case agent literally testify to a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, he gets sworn in, that sort of thing, just
Okay.
like regular.
So,
but
so the reason why you might request something like this, would it be for cases that have a lot of moving parts or a lot of people involved, that you're like, look, we just need to get our ducks in a row here. This isn't a simple one-on-one situation. That's the reason for the grand jury. I mean,
Right.
why you might request it versus we don't need it for this particular.
Right.
Is that one of the reasons why you would?
For New Mexico, basically here, for us to do it, it has to be a really complicated matter.
Gotcha.
Something that is probably too complicated to do a preliminary hearing on.
Okay.
And the reasoning is because if we went with the preliminary hearing stage, and you have to call a whole bunch of witnesses to establish, the probable cause for however many counts. Now, typically my office, we really don't charge people past like 12 counts.
Okay.
So sometimes we'll get criminal complaints where there's 50 counts, and I'll call the officer and be like, we're not doing this.
Right.
We need to figure out what is the 12 counts primarily.
The most heinous of the bunch,
Right.
and use those as the
Right.
tentpole charge.
Right. Now, if there's some sort of really large embezzlement, commingling of funds, something that happens at a grand scale, we'll either typically we'll talk to them, see if there's any way we can condense them down.
Sure.
And if not, then we'll present some options. Sometimes it may be, hey, maybe we should get the attorney generals involved, because they have more resources.
Sure. Well, it's true in all aspects of life. When the boss walks in, people tend to move, and when the district attorneys walk in, people tend to, hop to. And it's
Right.
just true in every world. That's different in the legal world.
Right. Right.
when the big boss walks in, people tend to start moving and things start happening. It's just how life is.
Right. Well, and that's one of those things that like a couple defense attorneys have told me that's like, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, like when I walk into a courtroom, who I am when I walk into the courtroom. And it's like, and I'm like, well, I don't try to do that,
Right. Well,
but it's.
And like, because you're the lead deputy DA.
Right.
So, the DA's office has, obviously the district attorney can't do every case because she's one person and can't be everywhere
Right.
at once. So she has a office of deputy DAs, and you're the head of those, the lead one. So,
I'm the chief in this office.
yeah. So as chief, does that more administrative duty stuff where you're kind of assigning cases and that kind of thing? Is that kind of?
I wish that was all I did.
Okay. I mean, is that part of being the kind of the lead
So that is
deputy DA?
That is a large part of it.
Gotcha.
I am essentially Diana's presence in the office.
Okay.
I deal with a lot of human resource issues, administrative issues.
Gotcha.
PR, that sort of thing.
You're the referee / I get you.
Right.
I know. It's just like any other office.
Yeah. And with me as the head of that office, if we have issues with secretarial staff, support staff, attorneys, that sort of thing,
You got to make sure that gets taken care of.
Right.
Gotcha.
And the powwow of managers and supervisors that occurs in my office at my table. We set up a meeting, which I'm always there, or at least try to be, unless there's some conflict with trial or something. And that's a large chunk of my job. I have to look at people's caseloads, see how many cases they have, what sort of cases they have. Are they doing too many trials? Are they doing not enough trials? Are we getting pleas out in time? All of that.
Sure.
And there's a lot. I mean, when I went out on paternity leave last year, Diana was like, I need you to make a list of everything you do so it can be covered when you're gone.
So I can find 3 people to do it.
It was 7 pages long, and she was like, wow, I didn't expect this. And I'm like, well, Diana, you asked me for everything. And I'm like, and I can tell you right now, that's not everything.
That's
But
just what I can think of.
That's everything I could think of.
Yeah.
And and then of course I still prosecute cases.
Sure. Then, by then you do also a lawyer and do lawyer stuff. Yeah.
Well, and so the last couple chiefs that we had were more on the administrative side.
Gotcha.
Where they didn't. I mean, they did stuff in court, but they didn't per se do a bunch of trials
because they have to do the administrative stuff and don't have the time to manage multiple cases at once on top of running the office.
Right. When I got promoted, the one thing I talked about, Diana, is I said, I am a trial attorney. I like doing trials.
This is why you became a lawyer. You want to keep doing lawyer stuff.
Right. I want to keep prosecuting cases.
Yeah.
So with that, that's why, we also promoted 2 other people up to deputies to be my support,
to kind of help
I
you
can still
have the 3-headed monster,
right?
And between the 3 of us, you can all knock it out,
right?
Make sure it gets covered,
right? Because when I originally got put in as deputy, and then acting chief deputy, and then I became chief, I was supervising every attorney in our office, and I was like, this is unmanageable. I was doing at least 15 to 20 hours overtime a week. Not getting paid for it,
right?
Because I'm an exempt employee as a state, unless we specifically get a waiver for it and we can, we get approval.
And those are probably only certain circumstances. Those are qualified.
Extra money in the account, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
And so it's very few and far between. And I went to Diana and I was like, look, I can't keep doing this. I have a family at home. I got 2 young daughters.
I do have a life, and I like to spend time with it every once in a while.
And it's like, it's like how. And I talked to her, and I was like, I really need help.
Sure.
I would like to have me be able to manage 2 other supervisors who can manage the lower attorneys.
Sure.
So I can manage them, and I can maybe manage 1 or 2 others.
Sure.
And then
and here's the nature of the beast that is your industry. Your caseload grows. I'm gonna just take a guess.
Okay.
And if you were sitting you weren't, but say 20 years ago sitting in this office, and you go in there today, I'm going to just guess that you probably have twice the amount of cases waiting for you today that you would have 20 years ago doing that same job.
I would suspect so.
Yeah.
So case in point, Sam Bregman, who is the district attorney in Bernalillo, they have 90 attorneys up there. We don't have that many. We have 7,
right?
But they're felony attorneys, which is what I am, which is what the deputies are. We only have
case. You're the guy that can handle.
We only have 2 out of 7 attorneys. We have 2 that are misdemeanor attorneys. Okay, and their attorneys up there, their felony caseload is 50. Our felony attorneys, both deputies, have 275 as of this morning.
Wow.
I have 215, and that's. And most of mine are high-level sex offenses and homicides.
Wow.
And of course, I came from, before I moved up here, I was in Carlsbad. So I'm still prosecuting homicide cases and stuff in Carlsbad.
Oh, wow.
Which, you may have seen some stuff in the news, that sort of thing. But
they've been having a lot of news popping up on that stuff lately.
Right. And so that's, my name's been thrown in there because I have cases in Carlsbad that I'm prosecuting and here.
Yeah.
And when I moved up with, I had a caseload of 40 that I came up here with, still in Carlsbad, that it was, you're still prosecuting these, so.
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
you got to make it work.
And you still got to finish out your old ones.
and you're taking on a whole nother job of managing people. So, here you go.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine, too, that's probably something that all DAs off, it stinks for you because guess what your workload got, but at the same time, it's probably not a good thing when you're swapping attorneys out all the time in a case. You want one person from start to finish so nothing gets missed, because if you're having multiple people doing it, some details are going to get missed.
Right.
Something happens in there. So I imagine at all costs they try to avoid moving someone from a case unless it's absolutely necessary.
Right, exactly. And we've had complaints about that, of course, because there are cases that I've prosecuted, that other people have prosecuted, that they're on their 7th attorney.
Sure.
But that's kind of nature of the beast. Some people come and go. We can't really control that when people are like, yeah, I'm here. Sure. I'm here for 6 months and now I'm going. And you're like, well, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, that causes a victim or witness or whatever to get really, feel like, well, what's going on? Are you doing your job? Well, it's like, we're in realistically, Roswell is a small city. It's not big by any means.
Exactly. Yeah.
small town country realistically.
Yeah.
And, comparative wise to Bernalillo, Santa Fe, Las Cruces, we're a lot smaller. And because of that, we have a revolving door of people. Now, of course, we've been a little bit more stable, but we have several openings. We have one position open in my office, 2 in Lee County, and I think 1 in Carlsbad right now.
Any attorneys or about to be attorneys that are looking for places in their
If you
career
want
field?
trial experience, please come.
Absolutely. And that's and plus, and this is something that I'm sure the every DA's office in the country and every public defender's office in the country deals with the young lawyers that they get their first gig to get their trial experience there, but they're lawyers. They all want to be the guy on TV that's the big so-and-so. I want my name with 3 other names on the thing, and so their goal is to get there. And so, they're only with you a year or 2 or a couple years to basically build their name, build their caseload, build their experience, and then they're off to say, now I got to go pay for my college. So
and selfishly, when I hire people, I hope to find people that aren't in it for that.
Sure.
I try to find the people that are in it for, wanting to be a public servant. Sure. And be like, I do this because you love the job or you want to help people.
Right.
I got into it to help people.
Sure.
I felt like it was a calling to help people.
Yeah. And that's why guys like you do it, and this is where you've been here, and this is why you've been, and you've got, all this experience doing it. And really you've done every level.
Right.
You've done private, you've done defense, you've done public defender, you've done what you're doing now. It's kind of so, and you've seen every aspect of the law world. And for you, this is where you feel like you're making the most impact and the most benefit in your life.
Right.
And that's to be said about something. And fortunately, there's a lot of lawyers like that.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And I love it.
And I'm going to even argue, I would say more than 50% of your lawyers are like that. Like, I think most of us just think, you're a lawyer, you're the next,
Yeah.
I'm the guy on TV with the chasing. I got a tank. I got whatever the gimmicks they use. They get to that. But most of them, I think, are people like you. People that said, I love this. Sure. Maybe one day I'll start my own practice thing, but it's not, the ambulance chasing monster that
and
we
especially those who work for the government, or even contract counsel. They're not in it for the money. They're in it for the love of what they do and wanting to help
because
people.
I would argue if that was the case, we would have no judicial system. Because, quite frankly, every attorney, especially ones that aren't fresh out of law school, probably could go and find a better situation than a defender or public. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If they wanted to, but they're there because they care.
Right.
And so,
I have friends I went to law school with who make 3 times more money than I do.
Sure.
And they're always posting about once a month they're on some lavish vacation,
Cabo
whatever.
Or whatever. Yeah.
And it's like I see that, and sometimes you get that streak of jealousy of the sense is like, well, I wish I could afford to go do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I get fulfillment by doing what I do. Sure. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, and there's no bones about it.
But I'm guessing those days where you get a case that a victim is truly feeling a sense of resolution and closure because of a case, and it's all because of your work, then guess what? It's worth the trip to Cabo or whatever, Facebook picture of you on some swanky golf course somewhere. Right. It's way cooler.
Well, and I know I've talked about this before, but like the trial I had in Carlsbad, it was, and I can talk about it, it was State versus Juan Lerma, in which it was he killed his daughter who was 6 years old, put her in a trash bag, and put her outside. And like that to this day, that case haunts me. And it was one of the hardest cases I've ever done in my life. And I 3 times throughout the trial, I cried without, I wasn't trying to. It wasn't an act. It was just...
It's just hard to fathom the heinousness of what we're dealing with here.
And when it came back as guilty on both counts for the first-degree child abuse, intentional, resulting in death of a child under 13 years old, which carries life in prison, the amount... everyone that had anything to do with that case was crying. I was crying. And as soon as the defendant walked out, I had a line of people just coming up to give me a hug or shake my hand saying thank you. And while that case to this day, it chokes me up just even thinking about it, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now. That still my most proud work. And it was one of those things that's like, that is why I do this job.
This is what, when I was a young teenager, fantasizing about, this is the day I was fantasizing.
Right,
about. Yeah.
right. And that's why I do it, because even, it's what happened was heinous, right? But the fact that family members and, people that were not family members, but from CYFD or officers, whatever, that were involved and were so emotionally triggered by it.
It impacted so many lives.
Right,
yeah, because it's hard for human beings to wrap their head around something like that. Something as innocent to do something to something that innocent. And it's a lot for humanity to wrap your head around. And so...
And now I'm trying to be the voice for the voiceless in a lot of ways.
And you've got to be the adult in the room, where I'm sure there was nights that you're dreaming about walking over and just punching that guy in the face because of, what the nature of what this man's capable of. But you can't do that.
No.
You've got to be the adult in the room, because the moment you do that, that guy walks.
Right.
To me, that's what makes what your job is so important, when kind of what you're saying, and why I think, what it brings that emotion, because you're like, look, I made a positive impact in somebody's life today.
Right.
And there's no better feeling than that.
No, and I try to compartmentalize, and I do that really well for stuff, but there are cases that you just can't separate yourself from.
Yeah.
And I try to look at every case and be both firm and fair at the same time, but look at it for what it is, what the evidence is, and what can I prove. And that's why sometimes, and a lot of times we go to trial, and when I was when I first started, I was taking a trial once a month. And I tell my younger attorneys, if you want the trial experience, take something to trial once a month. Don't undercut yourself for a plea offer, just because they're willing to close the case.
You get good by doing. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Put your foot down and say, nope, this is what my offer was. I'm not going lower than that. You don't want to accept it. We're going to trial. And that's how I do everything. It's like, if you want me to go lower than my initial offer, you need to convince me why.
Right. Well, and that's where we get, and I just saw the time, we got to wrap it up, but and that's where your dedication to your job is for your victims.
Right.
And it's one of those things that when you get that feeling, and it's just you feel a little like obligated, like this is something I have no choice, because if I don't, how are they going to deal with the rest of their lives? If I can't provide them some closure in this, am I basically helping them set the table for a life of mental issues and severe tragedy, maybe?
Right.
And when you're able to at least say, you know what, I got you some closure here, go get some help, go seek counsel, do the things to get you better.
Right.
But I at least gave you a place where we can start and pick up the pieces here.
Right. And with that, I think, I would say I represent like two groups of people, right? Two people. And that's why I think sometimes when you hear like some states, they call it the people versus whatever. It's actually a really good way, instead of saying the state, the people, because I'm supposed to be a voice for the voiceless,
Absolutely.
a voice for that victim. So I look at it as I represent two people. I represent first, primarily the victim in the case. And then second, the district attorney herself, Diana Luce.
Absolutely.
And like, I am an extension of her. So what I do represents what she
and
is.
obviously, if you do something bad, it's going to reflect on her.
Exactly. I hear about it.
So yeah, exactly.
And that's,
so you have to play it that
and
way.
she leads by example. I mean, she did 8 jury trials last year, or 10 jury trials in 8 months last year.
Yeah, she's just as busy.
I mean, that's
cases
crazy.
As some of her deputy DAs
right?
are,
Especially when you're talking about most of her trials, like mine, or homicides.
Again,
2-week-long jury trials.
She's not in the misdemeanor match. Although I would be very nervous. So I was coming in for like a magistrate speed tape, and then there's Diana Lucid on the other side. I'd be like, I'm sorry, what did I do?
Right. Well, so sometimes when she's covering prelims, people are like, why is Diana covering a prelim?
I was like, I didn't know it was this bad. I'm sorry. What do I got to do? I was just speeding. I
know we're running up on time, but sometimes I'll show up in other courts and cover a prelim if they don't have anyone.
Yeah.
And I know in like Lee County, the LOPD out there will a lot of times make our younger attorneys like go do every prelim.
Okay.
So if there's like 5 or 6 on the docket, they're like going through them, and they're like, "Well, be prepared to do prelims." I show up and they're all wave. I'm like, I don't know if that's my name or who it is, but whatever.
It's like
quick 15-minute.
You're
hearing.
the guy at the bat that they keep walking intentionally here. What's going on?
Exactly.
Oh, man. Well, Hunter, as always, we appreciate you spending time with us. I know you got a million things. We kind of were talking about them here on the show, so we do appreciate you spending time with us each month. month and popping in and visiting. We do appreciate it, and
appreciate you having me.
I love the information. I love what you share with us, because I think that understanding is so important. We're not all going to be happy with decisions made, but if you at least understand how those decisions are made, it makes a lot of sense to you, and I think you can have a better understanding of how things work, how the sausage is made,
right,
and why things are done the way they're done.
Yeah.
As always, appreciate it, Hunter, and I'm
Thank
sure you
you.
got 10 things waiting on you right now.
Oh, I got a ton.
We'll let you go do it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, that's going to do it for us. Have an amazing day. You're listening to 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM, KEND, Roswell, New Mexico.
Wave after wave of attack at Avdiivka, where the Ukrainians have built heavy fortifications after almost a decade of fighting there. Now it seems Moscow is making its size count after cutting off a major supply road over the past few days, leaving defending Ukrainian troops short of men and ammunition. Should Avdiivka fall to the Russians, it would be more of a symbolic than strategic victory, but it's territory Ukraine is unlikely to reclaim soon.